I'm like way far away on production value. This is where I actually eventually want to throw a bunch of shit on the wall, but Melanie and I have no idea how long we're going to be in this house, actually. Like, because we're, like, talking moving to Texas and everything.
Really?
Yeah, like, I've been in love with Austin since, like around August. I just tongue-tied myself. I've been in love with Austin since I went there in August of 2015. Like, literally the weekend, like, my mom got diagnosed was when I was over in Austin for the Rooster Teeth convention. If you know Red versus Blue or Ruby or anything like that. Well, Rooster Teeth's like one of the top like media companies that was like really indie. I think they still have like 500 or less employees. But okay, nothing silly. So like I just fell in love with the city, and I sort of fell in love with like media production as a thing I could work at and see value come out of it just because of the community that Rooster Teeth had. So that's when, like, right after then, or at least going into the next summer after Mom passed, I, like, jumped into the first version of my media companies with a pseudo, and spent, like, the whole summer, like, I had a creative partner, because I'm usually the workhorse type, the very logistics type. And so we just came up with game show ideas and just had, like, 4-person podcasts, and we used just, like, iPads and iPhones and, like, a conference mic to just do all the audio capture. And then we would spend the next, like, we'd like record it like on Thursday and then spend like the rest of the weekend until I had to go in for like my overnight shift on like Monday or Sunday or something like that, just editing and doing that shit. So, by the way, everyone, this is Billy Williams. He is a vendor for a specific brand that I don't think we need to name right now, and a former employee of the same company that I'm a former employee of.
Yes, we are.
And we actually ran into each other because you were going in to see the Sinbad Show at the Orlando Improv.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And how did you like his show?
I thought it was pretty good. I'm not going to lie. I thought it was pretty long. But I like the subject, just touching on, like, what it's like to be married and,
family and kids and grown kids and shit.
Because watching him growing up, like I used to watch him on HBO back in the day.
Yeah.
Like Def Comedy Jam, certain stuff like that,
yeah.
And obviously a younger guy, he's just living his life, and then to go basically almost like 20 years later and actually see him live, just talking about, the comparisons. Obviously, the guy who went up before him,
Yeah. The young man. Did he keep him up?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did that to our show, and it felt like it was improvised, and they just bullshitted their way through the rest of the show.
It did feel like that, but I actually enjoyed it because you got the one guy who's a lot younger.
Yeah, he's like
20, 30 years younger.
That kid was like our age, my age. Like, he's like young 20s, like 25, 27 or something like that.
And then to see that, and he's like sitting there, like, saying what his life is like, being a male, and you see Sinbad going up there, basically, like, it's almost like
a schooling session.
Giving him advice. I thought it was good, at least for the crowd that I was with particularly, because, we're young too, so anytime somebody, like, whether it's funny or not, they can, like, spit some knowledge and basically like tell you what life is like growing up, their experiences and what they've been through. Like, it's funny, but also take into consideration.
Well, yeah, it's like it's good old knowledge, but it's got Sinbad's energy spin to it because he's just like he's the ADHD that didn't get medicated, I think, as he put it, and he just went and became a stand-up comic.
Yeah,
and somehow he had that one story where like he almost got caught for stealing a car or something like that. Like the cop was like knocking on his door.
Yeah.
It
but it was just really funny, like, being able to see him live, just because I watched him growing up. A lot of legends like himself, Chris Rock, Mark Lawrence. Like.
Have you gone to other live shows before?
Actually, this is my third time going to the Improv. Actually, went there probably about 2-3 weeks prior and went and saw Godfrey live.
Nice.
I didn't think he was as funny, but he
never
hype,
like. It's weird that like. So I got this impression. So like I had a very Christian upbringing. So like I was like my mom was rational enough that we were okay to like read Harry Potter like when the first 4 books were out and everything when I was like in 3rd or 4th grade. But like I didn't know anything about pop music or anything like that. Like my mom mentioned 50 Cent long before I even could recognize his face. Like you remember when The Game and 50 Cent were cool. And they had Hate It or Love It come out.
Yeah.
I thought one was the other.
Yeah.
Like I thought The Game, just because it was the first music video I think I ever saw. Like I thought The Game was 50 Cent because that was the big name I knew, and The Game was 50 Cent.
Yeah.
Like and then I had to flip that like a year later. Just so like Had no idea. And, oh, shit. I always do this. I always lose my train of thought. What was your point that you were driving off of? Seeing the shows, growing up with
seeing Godfrey, and then like
Godfrey. Yeah. Like I had the impression from like VH1 and stuff as I was watching that through like high school and like late middle school that like Godfrey was like a comedy icon, but I never saw him show up in anything other than like VH1 flashbacks when they'd get like old people's takes on like the 70s or like that's so 70s or that's so 80s. Like that was a really good like subtle pop culture education, and Godfrey felt like such like a household name in a way. But I never saw a single special out of him.
Honestly, like the only thing I really noticed him like that really stands out to me as far as like Godfrey goes was he was in Soul Plane. That was obviously a Kevin Hart
the original. Wait, in Soul Plane. Okay, I was thinking of Airplane, the comedy.
Yeah, like he was in Soul Plane with Kevin Hart. He was obviously one of the pilots that was on the movie. I thought his character was very funny, you know, considering. But other than that, I haven't really seen him in anything else. So, you know, obviously when I get there, I always go in there with an open mind, thinking like, okay, you know, give anybody a chance. You know, you never.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
exactly.
So,
especially if like they're getting paid for it.
Yeah. So like to me, like, you know, he was funny. It was kind of like, you know, I wish I would have seen like honestly, I really wanted to see D.L. Hughley. Like 2 weeks. I think he was there like 2 weeks afterwards. You know, obviously the distractions came up. But,
DL. Okay, I was thinking of someone else. I was thinking of Lavelle Crawford, who was there a few months ago.
Yeah, so like I wanted to see him really bad. Other comedians I'm into was the Facebook sensation and Wayne Colony. Like I like his little skits that he do online. So I'm very open to comedy. My girlfriend suggested that I go up there and do an open mic.
You want to do some stand up shit?
Not necessarily. I do, but it was just funny because like the night of Sinbad, actually, it was pretty funny. We had a large group, and we sitting at the table. She's like, "Hey, babe, you know, maybe you should go up there and do open mic one of these days." And I'm just like, "Are you sure about that?" And she's like, "You know, yeah. What's the problem? Like, you know, you do realize, like, you know, with comedians, it's like anything goes. You know, it's like their life story. You know, like so that means like you know even to the point where hey." I could go up there and say some things about us. I don't know if you're gonna like it. You know, we just started dating. Yeah. So you know, it's just kind of like one of those things.
It's like you're asking me. What she's asking is for you to burn the bridge, but in your relationship
pretty much
early. Like
asking, you know, it's just like she just thinks like you know, I tell all these funny stories that hey, like you know, when I talk to my friends, I tell funny stories about my relationship and stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of it will be true. I'll be honest like this from a comedian's perspective, at least the way I tell jokes. Like you talk about your personal life, and me personally, I think like 70% of it is true, and then the other 30% is kind of like putting your own twist into it.
Yeah, just to like make it funny.
Make it funny.
Yeah,
get people to laugh.
Yeah,
you know,
and that percentage can vary widely depending on like what you need to do. Like so, most time you get the perspective with stand-up comics that's who they are. Yeah. And certain ones like Joe Rogan, like basically like say out loud, like because they have a platform like with a podcast, say like I don't believe anything of this shit I'm saying. Right. I'm just saying it because it's funny, it's a joke, and it's my job. But then you have like full character actors that are like Larry the Cable Guy, where like that guy, his name's not even Larry, I think, but like he has it's a full act that he created from like I think doing radio here locally in like Central Florida. And then he just made it grow, and then the Blue Collar Comedy Tour like was there to help just blow him the fuck up. And so now he's just had this character of Larry the Cable Guy that is nothing but like all those jokes when he doesn't even like have a sister. Like I think my dad knew a girl who had dated him, and she's like he doesn't even have a sister. Like all those sister jokes. That's just funny shit he came up with. Like, so you're sitting there going like, well, that's genius comedy, but it's also like, okay, that's a guy who's literally just like taken the stereotypes of a population he identifies with in a way and has just run it like headlong to where like he gets stadiums of like, well, we would just, you know, white America just jumping in there and having fun with just making fun of redneck culture.
Which is fine, like, you know, and that's one thing I like about myself.
Well, that's where, like, D.L. Hughley is, like, so funny because he does the same fucking thing.
Yeah, like, you know, black race and all that kind of stuff. And to me, like, I think that's where the people I'm around, at least, I like them to have an open mind because, you know, when you watch stuff like Larry the Cable Guy, D.L. Hughley, like, you know, obviously they're going to hit on something, like, you know, that within their diversity. So like me personally, like, you know, I don't mind watching like, you know, Larry the Cable Guy, because honestly, like, you know, I want to keep an open mind, see what he talks about. You know, like maybe he probably won't cross that line like the way DL would, you know, because I don't obviously seen some shows where DL, I'm like, yo, he kind of crossing the line there, but at the same time, you know, it's just me personally like keeping an open mind and also just learning about different things.
Yeah.
Like honestly, like I know it's off subject, but like one of the things that I even right now, like, you know, I'll admit, like, you know, I'm in an interracial relationship where, like, you know, I have to learn, like, you know, what my girlfriend, what her upbringing is and what she's like. You know, like, obviously, like, you know, she was kind of like, you know, a little swayed with the whole, like, country thing. And she's like, you like country music? I'm like, I'm very familiar with, like, the country music, you know, just like, you know, I tell most people, you know, like, hey, I tell most people, a lot of people be surprised, like, what kind of music I listen to. Is very diverse, you know, like.
I think that comes from, like, so because you do vendor work, like you do to keep it general, you do soda vendor work,
yes.
Which for those that don't know, at least in how Florida retail seems to work, and also based on at least what I saw when I was working at this specific grocery retailer, is that you don't have to answer to anyone but like your DM and like the grocery managers on deck, but usually that's like 5-minute conversations and then you're back in like your headphones. Yes. So unless like you're really into a certain music genre, you're eventually gonna like just start rotating into other shit, whether it is like podcasts, talk shows, or other music genres. So like that doesn't surprise me.
Well, honestly, I think it started for me at a very young age, to be honest with you, because like a lot of the friends I used to hang out with, they would listen to certain songs. Like, you know, the Sugar Hill Gang is actually one of the first, like, you know, type of music I listened to that was outside of the hip hop rap genre, you know. So it was just
Sugar Hill Gang a African American group?
No,
they weren't.
No,
really, I didn't know that.
No. Like then I started listening to them. Then obviously came around that era, like the new metal era, where you had like Limp Bizkit and Korn came.
Yeah, well, that's like all the '90s and early 2000s, right there.
Yeah, like late '90s, early 2000s. Like, you know, when I first started listening to them, personally, I was kind of like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, obviously, as I got older, to me, like, I think like it throws a lot of people off because obviously being African American, a lot of people.
Well, did you grow up so like just to like lay better foundation there, because it sounds like, did you grow up like in sort of like a mixed neighborhood, so to speak, or a mixed apartment complex?
Not necessarily.
Did you have mostly African American or mostly white?
It was mostly African American, but I would say like it wasn't like a violent like type area. No,
it's just like, hey, the neighborhood just the neighborhood just happens to have a high African American population. Like nothing.
Yeah,
nothing crime hillsy, but like, yeah,
it did. But I think it's just the people that I hung around, you know. Like, very different.
Did most of your friends? Do you still? Forget the like. Do you still like have any contact with like your childhood friends? But like, did most of them like grow up to be, you know, pretty moderately successful, or do you have any horror stories with them?
No, honestly, I don't have any horror stories, to be honest with you.
Like did all of them grow up to be pretty, you know, stable, or?
Some of them I do keep in contact with. Some of them do.
Yeah.
Like I have one best friend in particular, like, you know, like he's doing his thing as well as in the retail business. I don't ever knock what somebody's doing in their life as long as they're trying and staying out. Yeah,
just working. Yeah, definitely.
Working,
no, definitely.
Trying to make a living for them and their families, you know, like.
Yeah.
If you're doing that, you're being successful.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. That's where like to speak to like what this is with JHP as well as like Pseudo. It's like, as long as I have a full-time job that can help take care of like my life and support like my future family as I see it.
Right.
Like, I'm doing all this to just go in a direction, like, if this can make money in whatever way, then that's cool. But, like, it's work, pay for the house, pay the bills, and, you know, do what you can for your friends, but, like, you know, take care of your number ones and number twos. And that is success, especially with, like, you didn't go to college, did you?
No, I did not.
Yeah, you're a lucky son of a bitch at this point. Like, you dodged the bullet because you're just like, I'm going straight into work. Because, like, our generation, as you very well know, is downtrodden with just student loan debt and everything. Just this monstrous mountain that like you probably by like certain metrics are overly successful for a millennial. Yeah. And that's like hilarious to me, kind of like knowing that was the case even in high school, that like going to college was kind of a load of bullshit.
And personally, if you ask me, I don't think that was really the choice to like go straight out of high school and
start working.
Because like when I was in I was a sophomore in high school, and you know, it came to that point where you had to kind of like pick your electives, and I chose like the easy way out with the physical education and all that kind of stuff. So my guidance counselor actually recommended. He's like, "Hey, Bill, why don't you take TV production?" I'm just like, that's kind of that's a little tough there, Like, I don't know about
like what kind of production?
TV production.
TV production?
Yeah, so
it is technical.
It was technical. I was very nervous, and then like I just walked in there, and then it was just like that was honestly that's a hidden passion a lot of people don't know about.
For you?
Yeah. Like,
you got a lot of friends that are just like, I know what Billy likes, and then you drop this TV production knowledge. They're like, whoa, what's up?
Yeah, because like for the past like 2-3 years, I had a buddy of mine that honestly went to he went to school to
like Full Sail or something, or
he went to the Connecticut School of Broadcast.
Oh, okay, so, Connecticut, yeah.
He went there. Honestly, it's a local school down here in Orlando as well. Yeah. So he did that, and I started like getting to his head, like what is this like? What do you got to do?
Yeah.
And then for the past like 3-4 years, all I've been talking about is like doing that. Getting like sports radio, starting podcasts. I actually got a buddy of mine. We're picking each other's brains as far as ideas and stuff like that. But yeah, if it's one hidden talent that people don't know about is like, in high school, at least those 2 years, my sophomore, my junior, senior year, 3 years.
Yeah.
TV production was a passion of mine. Like, I was a producer of the morning announcement show.
Nice.
After like the first semester in my sophomore year, second semester on, all the way up through my senior year, I was a producer of the morning announcement show. I used to love going to high school football games.
Just catching everything.
Filming the whole game. I had buddies of mine that actually got like scholarship offers. They'd be like, "Hey, Billy, come cut me like a little mixtape and make me a video." I'm just like, so school let out at 2:45. I'll be there as late as I can, 5-6 o'clock at night. Sitting up in the production, like editing videos,
nice.
Whoever. And the only thing was, my teacher told me at the time, she said, I could have got a scholarship, but I joined the class. I should have took it my freshman year, which is kind of sketchy, even to the fact that I do question it to this day.
Yeah.
Like, what is the truth behind that?
Yeah.
But if it was something else I had to put my passion in, like, if the whole, like, podcasting and, like, sports radio thing don't work out, would be production. Like, even if it's something, like, as minimum as being, like, a cameraman and working my way up, is just, like, I have that experience, so where, you
just gotta like dive in.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I feel that because like I'd looked at so Achievement Hunter is a part of a Rooster Teeth, and what they do is they just have the PC rigs and whatnot to record them doing gameplay, and then they just like do the big grind of editing, like 4 different perspectives. So they've done stuff with like Minecraft, GTA, and all that, and so it's just fun. It's just like come up with crazy ideas and then like execute. And so like I saw that, wanted to run at it, and so I just started figuring out like what's the grassroots way of doing that. So like speaking to like your video production stuff, and when I had to brainstorm it like now 3 years ago and also recently to figure out like what's the next level like I could take. So like right now all we're functioning on is like that webcam in the corner,
right,
and like these mics, and the mics are like the highest quality thing because audio is like everything. But like when I was really considering the video part, or at least having like a separate entity than my personal phone for like audio for like video recording and stuff, or picture taking, I literally grabbed like off of eBay like $160 like same model as that, but like a 64 gigabit like iPhone. And so like all I'm missing is like maybe like the lens cap thing on the side, or like a mount to like hold it,
right,
and then I could literally use that for going to vlog stuff, like if I was going to be like at events or something like that, and like running around like a convention or a sports event or something like that. So you kind of gotta, I hear that and I go like, you literally go on eBay or go Facebook or like OfferUp and just grab like a tablet, grab a base tablet or like an iPhone and get like the memory card or something like that. You can really get running just using that, and the only thing you really have to worry about is like your audio quality,
right?
Because like I think it was a misnomer in YouTube in its early days where like everyone thought that like video was gonna be had to be high quality because it was like, oh, it's not a visual media. It's like, no, people will not listen to scratchy bullshit. They will watch pixelated bukkake, but they will not listen to scratchy bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, so like I hear that and I'm just like, well, I appreciate your attention to detail because that explains why you like when I caught you at the Sinbad when you were waiting in line for that next show. It's like you had spotted my podcast. I'm like, whoa, wait, my man, like I appreciate that. Because it's kind of is speaking to like your own passion for like media production.
Right.
So it's like, what have you and your friend been spitballing for like your sports idea? Because you were always talking like basketball, football, and everything, like standard, like traditional sports, like all the time in the back room.
And like, yeah, that's what I mostly talk about with my friends nowadays. Is just sports, just like everyday life, I listen to other podcasts as well, not to like aggressively, but you know, like I was curious about the Ron Burgundy thing, you know, just seeing like, you know, how everybody like, you know, how everybody like conducts their shows, you know. So
Yeah.
obviously, like, you know, it was just one day I was just sitting in the back room and I'm just like, yo man, like we should do a podcast. He was like, on what? And I'm just like, at first like the whole thing was just like fixated on sports.
Yeah.
You know, I just felt like, you know, I knew enough people where like, you know, it won't just be like one topic, because obviously I listen to sports radio all day long.
Yeah.
From like 9 o'clock in the morning all the way to like maybe like 6 at night.
Yeah.
So like it's the same rotation.
You're just plugged in. And...
yeah, like Mark Daniels, Colin Cowherd, Shock Doctor, and Brandon Kravitz. You know, I listen to these guys, and then you know, I'm just curious what they talk about. To me, some of it's like, you know, it's dialed in on one thing. You know. But
yeah.
I felt like, you know, I have a diverse amount of friends who watch all kinds of sports.
Yeah.
Like obviously, like, you know, me and my homeboy, we love basketball, football.
Mm-hmm.
I got my best friend and his twin brother. They watch tennis and NASCAR.
Yeah. Wow. That's a weird combo. That's a weird combo.
Really
tennis and NASCAR.
I was never into tennis until like in high school.
Well, you sat down with them for like an afternoon. We're like, wow, this is an intense sport or something.
It was even crazy. This is the first time I watched it on TV before, but like, you know, we were back in high school, and so like.
Yo, real quick. Let's drop the mic down a little.
Okay.
Like, just grab, yeah. That way I can see your face a little bit more.
Yeah. It was crazy. Like we took a little trip. Went on like a little road. I can't remember where it was, but went on a little road trip. Like, where are we going? And next thing you know, it's like this high school tennis tournament. And then from that day on, like they were just so into tennis. Like my best friend, he's a big Roger Federer fan. His twin brother likes Rafael Nadal. Before that, it was Leighton Hewitt. But obviously, like, you know, he's a big Nadal fan.
I'm enjoying how you're able to name off all these tennis pros, and like my sport is esports. I have League of Legends and Overwatch League that I listen to them in about the same pattern you do, from just any talk show I can find that's on YouTube or podcast to like literally just like, that's how I go to bed, is that I'm just watching games until they like put me to sleep, and I just make sure the autoplay is off on YouTube so it doesn't fly like 5 games ahead in the playlist.
Right.
So like I get that, and I could name off like so many like Korean, Chinese, American, European players, but I'm like, I'm finding it hilarious that like, you know, these tennis players, but you're like you're there's nothing explicitly interesting about tennis to you. You're like, your basketball and NFL, you said were your strong suits, but like you're still able to like hang out with that tennis nerd group, more or less.
And which is funny too, because, you know, like me personally, my favorite is Serena. I love Serena Williams. I can name off. Like,
she got her and her sister got a powerhouse story though. Yeah. Just like bullshit tennis court, and just like, no, I'm gonna be the winner. Like just that, like, no, I'm gonna own this shit mentality. That like when she was like 4 years old, interview some shit like that. Just like, all right, like.
And it's crazy too, like, and that's why I respect Serena so much, like, because I watched that match where she was pregnant and like, you know, she won a Grand Slam. I'm just like,
was she like 4 months or something like that?
Yeah,
some low.
Like some low, like 2-3 months pregnant.
Yeah.
Some like obviously you can't show, and I'm just like, that's incredible, you know, like for that woman to like, you know, go through that and then win a championship and then come back, you know, try to come back like weeks after she had her child, and like, you know, it's just that hunger that she had.
Oh yeah.
Like, I just respect it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like. Yeah, but I just hang around a lot of people that watches, like, you know, even like, I got, you know, people that watch golf, you know. Like,
yeah.
You know, come up to me and they can start talking about Bubba Watson and then obviously Tiger.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm just like, I like that because sometimes.
You like, I think you appreciate, so there's something that I think is starting to shift in pop culture where people are starting to understand, or at least like mainstream people are starting to need to understand that nerd culture isn't what was initially niche back, like, you know, Revenge of the Nerds and stuff, like pre-80s, is that like now it's like, no, we need to start with like football nerds and tennis nerds and then video game nerds and like, you know, Magic the Gathering or WoW nerds or tennis nerds. Like nerd sort of has been able to evolutionize to where like, what are you really passionate about? And that's sort of what your nerd is too. So like I could very easily see like your podcast being like, alrighty, this you know, this Tuesday, like if you had like say you had like a 7 day a week show or something like that, like you record. So like your Monday is like your football one. You just literally like rotate cast of just either you and one person or you and 2 people, and you just talk current events.
And
like,
that was exactly the mindset too. Like the mindset was honestly like, it was even like an open door policy. Like, you know, if we're in the middle of a show, somebody like, hey yo Billy, what are you doing? Like, yo, we talking about this, come through, you know. And just
yeah.
And to get their perspective on it, you know, like that was a whole plan. But then I kind of like put a little twist on it. I'm like, yo, why don't we just talk about like, you know, like, talk about sports, maybe like, 80% sports, and then maybe like the last like 15, 20%, about just like everyday life. Like,
I think that can come in on naturally.
And it can, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And it was just something like, let's just talk about everyday life. Like me personally, like I just thought the one thing I didn't really want to touch on, like when it came to that everyday life, is politics. Because I think, like, honestly, like with my friends that I have, like, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with talking about politics, but
you didn't want that for that content.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think like if you have something in that particular like field, like either you keep it to yourself or at least get in that crowd. Me personally, like, I'm not gonna sit there and say like I don't have a perspective in politics, which I do. I'm a type of person that honestly just sits back and watch.
Yeah.
Like, so somebody came up to me about something like that, I'm just kind of like, no words.
Yeah,
like I think it's a very sensitive subject and where we at right
now. Yeah, and you need to have like a good. I think that's where like, I think someone was saying this before, that it's kind of bullshit in America, because I think it's only in America where we say like when you're in a bar you don't talk about religion or politics, and it's like. That's dumb, because like a bar is one of the most social places in modern society. There's nowhere else that you go and you just start talking shit about everything, and people are like, you don't talk about politics or religion. It's like, well, if you do talk about like when you're decently inebriated and you're like chilled the fuck out a bit, like it's kind of the best place to talk politics and religion, especially like if you have a silent population, they're not gonna know what the fuck they're talking about for politics. And you're going to get a more divisive population like what we're dealing with right now. And then religion is like its own, there's a whole bunch of shit I could jump into here. But like for like religion and like modern society, there's something that needs to like sort of shift that's away from like the dogmatic stuff that a lot of America sort of like kicked away in a way, where they're like, I was raised upon these Christian ideals that like had value, but like there is a lot of like guy in the sky, like magical super dad or something like that science doesn't support, and they've just like hardballed it away. And I think there needs to be something that's that's modernized, that isn't childlike in how like the universe works, but is very mature on like, here's all these ancient stories of like mysticism or stuff like that, but they're literally the most scientific explanation at that time of how the world works. And you need to take those seriously, because these people weren't fucking around. Like, so like Jordan Peterson is a massive icon to me in the current time. And he had a series that he did called The Psychological Significance of the Bible. It's like a 13 video series that he has on his YouTube channel. And it's probably one of the most important things that I've listened to in the last decade, because he takes his very scientific background and he goes through just the book of Genesis so far. And he breaks down like every big story from like Babel, Cain and Abel, Abraham, Jacob. He runs through all that shit, and he applies like standard biology, all of his psychology knowledge in terms of like what these stories are actually like meaning. Like he breaks down the Abraham sacrificing Isaac story. He breaks that down to what it actually is representing, because that's usually like an example atheist or whatnot. Coaster, if you want it close. Okay. Like, Misaka Sukasa, just make sure you're comfortable, bro. So I'm just like really looking to like figure out or like have enough understanding of this science plus ancient religion perspective to be like, no, you need to sort of grab like these ancient stories that were explaining the world and people as it knew it. And like, we haven't changed. Like, I think every generation wants to pretend that it's like the next big evolution in human, and it's not. Like, you're repeating shit from like 1,000 years ago, and if there's been change, it's been like incremental. And you need to have like a Native American mindset that like my girlfriend brings up pretty frequently. It's like Native Americans had such a long-term mindset. They were thinking about what their actions were doing that would affect like 4 generations away. And American culture, at least in terms of the peak worst version of Western culture in a way, in one part of mindset, American culture has always been exceptionally short-term. Like one of my favorite examples that I like to bring to people is when car manufacturers were like going over to Japan, like I guess pre-World War II or post-World War II, it kind of doesn't matter. But so like in the American assembly line, like, Henry Ford and stuff like that, at the end of the assembly line, they'd have a guy there with like a rubber mallet. And what his job was to do is to go to the almost finished, like just there, like 99% done models and bang in the doors to make them fit. Like this last second, just bang, 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 just to like make sure the door like closed all the way or something like that. And then like the manufacturers, like all those big cheese, Industrial Revolution guys that go over to like Japan, and they see that they don't like. They ask the warehouse, the factory guy, like, where's your hammer guy? And he's like, what do you mean? It's like, no, don't you have a hammer guy at the end to like make that final fix? It's like, no, we design it so we don't need that. Like playing like, no, we're not gonna be lazy fuck asses about like making shit work. Right. And that's sort of like, that's a part of American culture that I think is being fixed, especially with how like a lot of big like global geopolitical things are happening, but also like I think people are like recognizing what short-term greed has done to the country, and that's why like a lot of our generation is wanting to go towards certain political systems and economic systems. But yeah, that's my little tirade running through there.
It's all good, man. It's like sometimes you learn something different, So
yeah, no, I can't recommend Jordan highly enough, because like there's too many people that have like been positively influenced by him, while like the rest of a lot of other people are just like running hate. And it's like, you listen to the guy for like, let's give it 15 minutes to an hour, and you're just like, I can't find like a hate bone in this guy except towards like peace, like politically corrected bullshit, So, but for bringing it on back, but like for your podcast, speaking of like where 20% is like talking life, that I think, like I said, would like be very natural, but it's also one of those where it's like, if you hold the podcast too strict, then I think it could take a lot of the energy out of like your guests.
Yeah, and I also gave that thought too, which is why like I'm glad that I'm still like me and my buddy were still picking each other's brains.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like what kind of content we want to have on our shows,
Yeah.
I'm obviously like still out there like fishing, listening to everybody else's podcast,
Mm-hmm.
seeing like what did they bring to their show, like
Yeah.
And every show is different, so I guess is this one of those things where like we just have to go with what we know and
yeah,
just,
just dive in,
just let it roll, and like
yeah.
If we dip into those subjects and just let it be,
yeah.
Like hopefully like everybody's like strong-minded and open-minded, and like they're ready to have those conversations, but yeah, like there's definitely like we seriously haven't like sat down like in a house setting and like went over these things, it's just one of those things when I run into them.
You've been chatting.
Chit chat,
I dare you. Really, so I'll give you a dare, because I look at this as like a very much baby version, but I like when we get to Austin and I can like set up like a separate building like on me and Melanie's like 5 acres we want to get, is where I'll literally have just like a broadcast building and just rent it when I'm not using it. So like bringing that back to like here, where I've got like a friend renting this more or less like on the 22nd or something like that. Like if you want to run a hard challenge on your friend, be like, I got a place like free of charge. So if you want to meet and do like a beta run, just do a pilot episode where we sit down and just dive into our sports talk, like just let me know when.
I mean, I appreciate it.
So like I know what it took to get to where this is, and this is between these mic stands, mixer, that PC down there is like, well, the PC is almost $3,000, and like you don't need that for what you're doing. You need like mics, this, and like a basic PC to record audio if you're just doing podcast, and like buy a website so you can do an RSS feed, so it'll upload to Apple for like for a lot of podcasts. So yeah, so like what's this? 280 per mic, 20 per arm. So like $500, and like use like a spare laptop to just record on like OBS or something like that. Like y'all are a month's worth of spare cash away to just like set it up and just run it.
Yeah, that's funny too, because I've been sitting like like whether it's Google, going through your Facebook page.
Yeah.
I'm just like keep doing like constant research.
Yeah. No,
it's just
that's
like
good.
You said, it's just a matter of time of getting that. Also for me, honestly, I don't even think it's that. Me personally, I think it's just about space. Like having a physical space to work in. Yeah, like to me personally, like living in a 1-bedroom apartment.
Oh
like,
Jesus.
Obviously that's not a good setup. So like. Me and my girlfriend, we are looking at houses right now to rent. So, like, she knows what I want to do. So she's just like, hey, why don't you just get a guest room? We can just set your stuff up in there. I'm just like, really? Like, That's awesome.
Yeah, if you can afford that rent, like you can run that game.
So that honestly, I just think it's for the both of us personally. Like, you know, it's just a matter of space. You know, like, it's like I get like really adventurous, and like, you know, when I really have some free time, like, you know, I'll just drive around from pawn shop to pawn shop,
just searching for shit,
searching for stuff, mixers, you know, microphones. You know, obviously, like, I know like microphones is like the biggest thing. Hands down. You know, so like I'm not gonna go to a pawn shop and
get no bullshit. Nah.
Microphone, you know, like knowing like, you know, what condition it is. Obviously, like, you know, I get it off of like, you know, eBay or
Amazon. Yeah, I got all these. Like, I sat there and actually made a full damn Excel spreadsheet just to figure out what I could spend on shit. But like, I bought all these mics like new from Amazon and everything. These MXLRs, MXLs, yeah. So
personally, like, once I get the space, you know, I think it's all system go.
Well, like, so like I actually know exactly that. So like so Melanie, my girlfriend, she moved in like this past April, like Easter weekend more or less, as like a good landmark. And so before then, this room and the other room were both my Airbnb rooms, which was good money, really good money at the time. But we both knew, like Melanie and I both knew that when she physically moved in, instead of just staying here on the weekends or something like that, like we were going to need some space of some kind. And especially because like my computer desk and stuff, that used to be all like in the bedroom. So like my ability to game till 2 a.m. or something like that, very limited when like the bed is like as far as like that desk is from where like you're sitting. Like you can't get all yelly playing like, you know, team games or something like that when, you know, she's just tired and she's just passed out at 1 a.m. on a Friday night. Like you can't fuck with that. So, and then also like knowing that like stability was hitting well enough in my life and I had the money together, I was like, I need to start doing this. I'm gonna need a room for it. So we were like, alrighty, we're gonna collapse what was little room, or no wait, this was simple room. We collapsed this, and then we went and got this dining room table set here from the Salvation Army there off of 436, and then just had to wait on that PC to get here and just get other shit together. So like, yeah, having a spare space that's like dedicated for like office shit, like your computers, your gaming stuff, the podcast stuff, is like a big deal.
Yeah, and it's funny too. Like when I visualize at least like what I want to do, like my buddy like thinks I put like way too much thought in it. Which
no, you can't put enough. You can't put enough, man. Like,
you know, like even the stuff like I done threw like a couple like names of the show I wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know, like even to the point like I'm like, yo, visualize this. Like, you know, we in here doing our podcast. We got to.
Yo, you're the visionary, and you know, I can tell you're the visionary of the two, and I can't tell whether or not he's really interested.
I mean, I think he is, but like, you know, I just think it's to the point where like, you know, he just gives out like, you know, the content that he wants to do on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then obviously, like, you know, obviously there's different. Like he goes home, he has kids. I don't have kids, so like
his priorities are way different.
Way different. So obviously, when I go home, I'm like if I'm not with my girlfriend, I'm by myself. I'm just sitting here like just
daydreaming into.
Yeah, you know, I'm like, man, like, you know, I'm going to work tomorrow and telling him like, hey, put TVs in the corner and
Jesus,
like a little PlayStation and something like that with a little like, you know, lava lamp and stuff like that. He's like sitting there like looking at me crazy. He was just like. Yeah, bro, that's fine. You know what I'm saying? And then he'll just go
I think you need to run this, and I don't think he'll take offense. Like, check with him because I don't know your friend, but like, you kind of need to like run this yourself, and just be like, let him know like, hey, what dates do you want to do? Like, involve him as much as you can, but also like when we were talking about like rotating guests in and out from like your tennis boys to other people to like, you know, esports people for like random guests to just having friends sit down and just play bullshit on like a spare screen just to like have like an 80% bullshit episode where you're just hanging out with friends. Like, it sounds like the moment y'all get that house and your girl's like cool with you just like putting it together, then you just literally build like what I've got here, and you just like start scheduling people in. It's like, hey, you want to meet this day, sit down, and we just hang out and talk like recent events on sports and like in whatever category. Like, and it's like,
the funny part is just so expanded. Like you brought up esports, and I'm like, damn, I didn't even think of that. You know, like,
well, like well, here's the thing that I understand. Like, this is what's big for me with JHP is that like, because I always run a parallel to it with Joe Rogan's podcast, because I think everyone tries to imitate him, and it's all about like figuring out like what's going to make it yours as opposed to what makes it like a Joe Rogan like imitation. And so, like, what I understood and what I came to understand recently is that I wanted to get back to doing pseudo and having friends over and, like, bullshitting with them, having podcasts, playing video games with them and recording it. But that was stuff that we did with pseudo. And Jailhouse actually sort of comes from a few specific motivations for specific podcasts, like a esports podcast for, like, League of Legends or Overwatch, but also, like, specific, like, sort of biopic or interview things. Like, one-on-ones like this could very easily go to pseudo, but it's a very intimate thing to me to sit down with someone one-on-one, like Joe does, and also like how Chris Hardwick does, but let them go. Like, it's not exactly an obvious mantra of Joe's to, like, let the guest fill the space, like, give them the freedom to. That's something that Chris Hardwick very obviously does in his podcast, the Identity podcast. But Joe sort of, like, lets that go. Joe helps motivate it into whatever avenue it's going to go. So he usually will, like, grab the oar and help it go. And maybe the guest will take it, like, eventually grab the oar from Joe, and Joe just lets him run with it. Meanwhile, like, Chris will pretty much just like, no, whatever, and we just go somewhere, like, what's up with your new movie or something like that, because he gets, like, people like Eli Roth. He just had, like, Joaquin Phoenix on for the Joker. Yeah. Do you see that?
No.
Dude, we just did a review on it, like, this past Monday night. Me, Melanie, and my boy Jason sat down and did a review on it, and I'd say go give it a watch. You gotta go give that thing a watch.
You know, it's funny, like, I've never been a big movie buff, but
Joker though, for recency.
I definitely regret, like, not going to the movies for the past, like, 2-3 years, because you see these.
Are you outside of Avengers and stuff? Like, do you even know anything about MCU or?
I didn't know nothing. Like, is this? I see these commercials, like, you know, Endgame and all the Avengers movies.
You never watched any of them, did you?
No,
dude, what kind of monster are you?
Like, honestly, like, I tell a lot of people, man, like, and that's where, like, you know, I thank my girlfriend now, because she's getting me out of that man cave, out of that cave that I've been stuck in for so long. You know, it's just like, you know, me. If you would ask me like 4 or 5 years ago, I wouldn't have gone to improv. You know, like I'm literally like, I go to work, I come home, I video game all day. Like, that's just been the life for me. You know?
Oh man.
And so now, like, you know, I met this beautiful woman. Obviously,
she's getting you healthier.
Yeah, you know, she's getting me out the house. You know, like.
What do you mean? What do you mean doing improv? Like going to the improv to watch a show?
Watch a show, yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. I was like,
even something as simple as a beach. Like, you know, like the first weekend we like started dating. It was like Improv Beach. You know, then like
go out and do stuff. Go out and do stuff.
Like I came back, I was like, I'm so exhausted. But yeah, back to my point. You know, it's just like, you know, I totally regret not seeing none of these movies. Like, you know, everything from like the Joker, the Marvel movies, from Spider-Man to, like, you know, the Avengers. Like, you know,
were you like a movie buff, like through high school at least, for like The Dark Knight and everything?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. And then you just went. Okay, so I'm gonna make a guess. I'm gonna take a guess because we might actually agree on this because we have similar. I kind of think we have similar work patterns, in that you turned 18, like the weight of the world came on you, like not crushingly, but like I have responsibilities, I need to make money. Right. So you literally found a full-time job and did nothing but that, and all your spare time went to just like the cheapest form of entertainment you could do. Like I was into hardcore like console gaming and stuff like that, but that was when like my grandmother, my birthdays were sort of buying me like, you know, all the video games and like the consoles and stuff. The moment I hit 18 is the moment I like got in, and like around that time I got into League of Legends because it was free to play, and I was like, I'm not spending like $50 on another video game. And like I did go through, and the only reason I got like an Xbox 360 was because of like Black Friday, and so I got like, you know, like 2-3 games with it, but I haven't cared about console gaming in like almost a decade now.
It's funny because like I've been console gaming since I was like, honestly, when I was a little child, when I first had my first Nintendo back in like '89.
Oh yeah, you know, no, I still got a 64 out there. I got an N64 out there right now, man.
I download like for that. I download like emulators. I got like my own like custom made, like, you know, I just go and get like a normal controller.
Yeah.
You know, from like
Afterglow and stuff like that.
Like, and play like GoldenEye. Even to this day, I still play it. Like, you know, on my PC.
Are there servers for the multiplayer, or do you just go through the campaign?
No, I just go through the campaign, you know, just to play for like, you know, good like half hour.
Yeah.
You know, bring back the memories and stuff like that I had as a, you know, obviously in my teen years.
Yeah.
But I don't have friends who try to persuade me to, like, you know, do PC gaming. It's definitely coming into consideration now that these, like, you know, new gen consoles are coming out.
Yeah.
And I'm really like asking myself, like, do I really want to go through this phase again? You know,
yeah,
it's like the same thing. And I heard a lot about PC gaming. I mean, obviously, like it's a lot more expensive when you constantly upgrade hardware. But I'm totally fine with that. Just like being able to like seeing like just how better it is compared to console gaming.
Yeah. Well, like the thing that sort of like the thing about upgrading a PC is that a PC has like kind of infinite possibilities compared to a console.
Yes.
Like the funny thing, if you think about it, is that consoles have been trying to imitate PCs since the start. And while they do have like fantastic processing power, like the PS3 was like legendary in that with its cell processor, the PC has sort of always kind of sat there and been just like hanging out as like the king because like you've done FPSs with like GoldenEye and stuff. There's like a conversation in like the Overwatch community, like what if they merge the servers for console gaming and PC gaming? And everyone in the PC world is like, you don't want that. No. Because like the flick of my wrist on like the right sensitivity setting allows me to like instantly 180 and like pop you with a sniper. You can't do that like in as controlled of a manner as you can on a console, because like a console with the joystick always has that breakpoint between like light sensitivity and then like and flying. And when you go from like my friend was able to get like similar ranking on the rank system for Overwatch when he went from console to PC, but there's a huge learning curve from realizing that like your ability to execute these base mechanics on console have like a high demand, and then you go to PC and like the level of execution goes up and the level of play goes up because of just how much faster everything goes. But like the only good news is that the game's played the same way, like conceptually, like positioning, mechanical need, and comps and stuff like that. So like PC sort of hangs out as the winner, because even going into like say your podcast stuff and then just like gaming is that like that PC that I paid for right there, that has the power and like previous stuff couldn't. So like that PC right now can be rendering like a video that I've already recorded. It can be uploading a video to YouTube, and it can be recording what we're doing right now. And so that's what like probably $2,000. Actually, my girl spent less than $2,000 on hers, and it's right now technically more powerful than mine, but mine's upgradable right now. Like it has slots that shit can be slid into for RAM or other video stuff or whatnot. So like you spend money on like the next generation of consoles, it's just for games and it's a Netflix machine. As a lot of them have fucking turned into. It's just a $600 fucking Netflix machine.
That's why I was disappointed with the Xbox One. Like I got.
And the number of game titles that have been released has dropped to like 2 a year or some bullshit.
Yeah, like is this? I don't know. Like I would honestly say like I'm big on like the sports aspect of it, like Madden and 2K.
Yeah.
When it comes down to like all these other things like Call of Duty,
yeah,
it's kind of like I don't know anymore.
They're already out here, and like a lot of those games, I think like Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, and Black Ops, they already went through their heyday. Yeah. And it's like you need a whole new generation of games. And the funny thing is that that's where a lot of like retro games, like even just base platformers, have come back, because like we've kind of, until VR gets to like a full body, like Gundam Wing Z or something like that, whatever it was, until you get to like a full body VR thing, we've seen what the entire span of video games can do, and now it's like you need to have a really good fucking game.
Yeah, even I'm not gonna lie, like the PlayStation VR, I tried it out like last year. It was a lot better than I anticipated. Like I guess it just depends on like what game you're playing really.
Yeah.
Like I kind of gave it up because like I got sick one day playing like this racing game, because
the motion sickness sort of thing.
It was like incredible.
Yeah.
It was something like incredible. Like I never seen it before. And then like obviously like you're racing and you kind of like just looking around like like whoa, that looks awesome. And then you look forward, it's like whoa, like you're going up a hill, and I'm just like no, it's not for me.
Just oof.
Like I guess it depends on what kind of game you play. Like I'm on like I did Batman. I did like the
you ever do that lightsaber music game or something like that?
I wanted to try that. Actually, like my favorite VR game for the PlayStation right now is the Astrobot game.
Okay. Like
it's a really cool game. Like it's very unique, something different. So like I played that. I mean, I got sick off of that too, but it was well worth it. It was like the detail in the games is got this little robot running around trying to save his little friends. You like flick the controller and like he goes like flying. Mm-hmm. It was just for like I guess you call it like a little indie game, It was a very solid game. Probably one of the most funnest game I played in the past 5 years.
Nice,
like hands down.
Nice.
But yeah, like as far as gaming right now, like I mean, I do in a way as far as like my personal life. Obviously with my lady, like I could see myself kind of like pulling back in a way
from gaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
to the point, like I'm really starting to think, like, you know, is it really worth going out there spending however much the console is going to be, and you're not going to really touch it? Like, at least with the PC, not only can you use that as gaming, but you can use it for like
video production, live, editing, streaming.
Yeah, you can use it for a lot more things.
Yeah,
you know, like other than this
word processing, Excel spreadsheets, like
checking emails, just being on the internet.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, obviously.
Well, you see, well, that right there, like, so like. The fun thing about with my current setup is that if you look down there, you can see like a fourth screen. See that, Acer? Mm-hmm. That actually, when we do our Let's Play recordings, that sits right here, and I just literally have like OBS sitting in the center, I have like OBS in the far right screen. I'll have the game on the main screen, and that other fourth screen is mirroring the center screen. So like what we did to finish up our Gauntlet recording earlier this week is that like. My friend Tyler, Melanie, and I just sat like in those chairs with like the screen right here with these Afterglow controllers. They're like Xbox controllers that just USB plug in. And then we had like our other friend Aaron, who's up in Seattle. We just had him on Discord so we could hear him, and he just joined the game with us through Steam. And the four of us just finished playing Gauntlet.
That's nice.
Like, and it's pretty. And he was playing on keyboard, but like, you see that where like I was able to record, play the game, run like a phone call, and like. He just got his webcam together, so like at the beginning when we first did it a few weeks ago, because we did like 3.5 hours, and then we just did like an hour and like 40 to finish the campaign on Gauntlet. But like if we'd have started with him having his webcam, I'd have put his face like in a Skype call and just like done the right cutout for like OBS to just put him like right above our shot like this one is, because this shot would be like bottom right corner, game's taking up like 90% of the screen, and I'd have put him up there as well. So like I'm running the webcam, OBS is recording it, could be live streaming it. It's taking care of audio capture from this equipment. It's running the fucking game to a T, like no frame drop or anything, and you're off and running. That's that's what you get for like if you sit there and play the game of just getting like a $2,000 unit, it'll last you a good like 5, probably 10 years if you know how to play it out. And then you pay for like this shit to just do your podcast stuff. Then you can literally record it on, edit it, render it, upload it, and just run like your whole sort of podcast business off of one computer.
That's very nice.
Especially if you keep it simple.
That's very nice.
So
yeah,
like,
it's definitely something that we get into. Like, you know, I'm being very positive with it. Like, you know, even to this day, like I said, we still, you know, run some ideas. I think honestly to the point like we know what we want to do. It's just
I think it's clear. Like I think after sitting here with you for a while, it's like you've been doing plenty of research. Like, and that's like the first good sign of like a well-minded business person, or at least a creative idea. You're ready to execute by my estimation. Like I'll give you like my laundry list of what I fucking got here, and it's like here's the shit. You'll do what you will, whether it's pawn shops, Amazon, or whatnot. But like, have the shit. So you can just do either impromptu setups just to learn rigging. And then once you get to like where you have a spare room, like when you rent a house with your girl, and it's like, alrighty, here's this room. What am I going to create out of it? Because like I could do like, because I have it, I could like green screen this whole back wall, or I could start hanging like pictures and bullshit, or put a shelf up with like liquor cabinets up there or something like that. Because I did that before when I was at my last apartment. So like, I think you're there.
Ever there? Is this like I mean I think I feel like I'm there. Like, you know, I got people ready. I mean, even like this awkward people.
I think you just need to run test runs, and like my place is here for you. Okay. Like you literally just like, hey, like clear with like, if you let me know, like pick like we can talk about this after, but like I think you pick for me like a few days you want to try and just see which ones stick for like people, and I'm like, alrighty, cool. Like just pick like 1 day out of a month, 2 days out of a month or something like we'll figure that out later. Right. But like you let me know, and then you get to just test run here. I can just send you the audio file afterwards, or the audio video file afterwards, like through G Drive or something. Okay. Or just if you got like a USB clip, or throw it on your phone or something. Do you have an Android or an iPhone or?
I just bought an iPhone today.
We can figure it out. But yeah, so like yeah, no, it's low impact. It's very low impact stuff. Okay. Once you like I think as I've always told everyone, it's like everything is easy to execute. It just there might be a high learning curve. Right. But once you learn the shit, then it's like off and run into the races.
That's why I can't wait. Like, you know, I'm just gonna be like.
Oh, I think you got high energy for your podcast, just to like, because like this is what JHP is to me, and I think that's what yours will be to you. Is just like, what do I want to do with this week? like, what do I want to do? Who do I want to have on? So then you just hit up that person like, hey, when you want to come by and just talk about whatever. Talk about the sports, talk about life, talk about whatever. And it's like, all right, this person's going to be on and they're going to drop in and, just have that time set aside and jump into it, hit end recording, and then figure out through Humble Bundle is a good place to go, but then you have to, but you could either like pay for the editing software, pay for the subscription of the editing software, or just upload the raw footage, like all the above kind of thing. So like that's the next level is your post. So, but otherwise you're pretty set in square.
I am, man. I can't wait to get it going. Like I said, man, I just can't wait to get it going.
You got a name for it yet?
Crazy sound. I wanted to like call it like the basement, just because like
you want to call it the basement.
Yeah, just because like
we're in Florida, my friend.
No, trust me, I know.
There's no basements here, man.
Basements in Florida. It was just like one of the things that crossed my mind because like just growing up, one of my favorite TV shows to watch was Rhapsody of the Basement. Okay. Even though they had like a true basement. Yeah. Like with Tigger, it's just like
I think you really like that aesthetic of being in the basement, just like talking shit, like.
Yeah, just the way he used to run his show, show the music videos, and then somebody just come pop in and they do a little freestyle, and then they just leave, and he'll go back to his business about his show and current events and stuff like that. I mean, I did run it by my friend. He kind of looked at me. He was just like, I don't know if he was just bullshitting with me or he was just kind of like, yeah, that sounds nice. I'm just like, really, bro? He's like, yeah. I'm like,
oh, I think you got a yes man. You got a yes man.
I mean, like, he's very vocal about it, but when I said that, I just really wanted to like know his opinion. He's like, yeah. But see, even like you just said, I told you like it's a basement. Like, hey man, you live in Florida. Like, I like to hear something like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because then it makes me go back to the drawing board. All right. At least, well,
like I'm saying, like we're in Florida, like that's its own joke of calling it the basement. If you're gonna be like a Florida-based production, is that like for the locals, it's hilarious. For everyone else, like, it's the basement. That's the name of it. Cool. Moving on. Like, it's not a game breaker. Like Pseudo's initial name was Pseudo Films, but even then, when I did that, it felt very limiting. But having just Pseudo was like way too small. And so now I've gone into like the second iteration. I was like, well, Pseudo Productions. That leaves it very much more wide open. It allows it to just be an influencer on other content, but also do its own stuff. And it also let me just change the logo to like a P squared, just like as a fun logo aesthetic that I enjoyed. But like it doesn't matter because like Pseudo means fake, so it means like fake productions. If you're gonna take like the English literal version, so like I don't think you should rethink the name at all. Like having just based the basement. Like, the only thing I would tell you to do is just look up, is there any other YouTube podcast that's called The Basement? Yeah. And you have to make the decision of whether or not you're okay with, having that as an issue. But it's pretty much like, if you love the name, then fuck off. Like, go do it. Like, I'm not going to tell you otherwise. Like, I'd tell you, it's like, I'd tell you to tell me to fuck off and go do it. Like, fuck the Florida location part of, like, we don't have basements here. Just go fucking do it. And like all respect to your friend, but he sounds like a yes guy. But I think he's also probably way preoccupied with his actual life.
Yeah, that's why I never hold it against him,
Yeah, no, and I'm not trying to hate on him at all. But it's like recognize like his priorities and be like, I appreciate like your really just yes man support, but like I need to run at this, and you need to figure out like if you got like a close friend that you can like. They may not want to be a part of it, but that they'll give you like honest perspective on like when it sounds like you're heading in a whack direction with a concept, an idea, or a guest or anything like that. Like, and that could be your girl. Like, because like if you think about like Kevin Smith, I don't think it's a specific story. No, wait, it might be Kevin or someone like that. But Kevin Smith, the comic book guy who's directed a couple like Supergirl movies or something like that. He's Silent Bob.
Okay.
Silent Bob, you know that character? That's actually Kevin Smith, and that was his movie, Jay and Silent Bob. So Kevin Smith is a big icon in the nerd culture, Comic-Con culture, and everything. But like his wife is incredibly uninterested in anything he does, more or less. Like she doesn't really care about the comics, and she doesn't really care to watch. Like she's not the super fan spouse. She's a supportive, healthy, good spouse. They have their daughter, and she's helping them be healthy. Like they're a solid couple. But like, I think he had the story of he went to like play golf with like this guy or something like that, like this business guy, and his wife saw the guy like move his ball or something like that, like a quick like cheat on the green, and she's like, don't go into business with that guy. And he's like, what? He seemed great. Like, they had a great start and everything. But, you know, they didn't, and it turned out the guy was like a crook, like scammer or some shit. So it's like, your girl, your partner, may not be like wholly invested and interested in being a part of the content and the part of the production and part of the venture. But if they are like your true partner, they're going to be like the best outside perspective because they're going to have your best interest and they're not invested. Like, they're going to look at like straight up what's it look like and probably have like the good wide view of like what's the general populace going to take from this if that's like who you're trying to grab. So like, run your shit by her, like run and probably get to start to figure out what's the important shit to run by her of like, what do you think about like this?
I think as far as the sports part, I got her on that because she watches sports as well, you know. So
I mean, you could definitely just have your girl on and y'all can just talk like either consistently you're both on.
She'll probably hell bent on Pittsburgh because that's where, like, you know, she's from.
Oh, she's Steelers. Oh, she tough shit right there, man. But she redneck, or she like that country girl like vibe. Okay.
Country girl mentality.
But from Pittsburgh, that's not a thing. That's
Gettysburg to be more specifically.
Gettysburg.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, like, you know, she loves Pittsburgh. I mean, she's all over the map, kind of like me with the sports teams. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, primarily between the Steelers and the Yankees in New York. You know. I know I give her all the praise in the world for, like, you know, putting over me and my Tampa Bay, like, you know, if you ask.
Oh jeez, man.
So,
you've been on a drought since like 2006 or something.
2007, man.
2007 with that Super Bowl, but like.
No, 7 was the last year we made it to the playoffs.
Oh, okay.
2002 was when we won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's where it was. I was way young. Way young.
Yeah, like, she's, you know, she's putting up with that. You know, she's very supportive of my fandom, like, you know, my teams. You know,
she pities the hell out of you, doesn't she?
Like the Lakers and the Lakers when it comes to NBA basketball. Like, we definitely have that Duke North Carolina rivalry.
Oh, y'all just have fun with like just have that rivalry when it comes around. That's gonna be a lot of fun though.
Yeah, like we like, you know, so she definitely likes North Carolina. I like Duke. I guess like the toughest thing honestly been is like, you know, like she gives me crap about, like, you know, Tampa Bay.
I already see y'all. So like I already have like. I wouldn't be surprised if you already thought of this. So like that classic rivalry rolls around like next season, and y'all just have like a pregame like the day before. If you can just like record and get it up real quick or something like that, you just record like pre-rivalry showdown, and then you have like post-rivalry. Yeah. It's just like amp it up, like who this year is gonna just like dunk on your ass or something like that, and then you go to post just to talk shit at the loser kind of thing.
Well, I don't know. I try to stray away from that, you know, just because, like, you know, I take sports very seriously, especially when it came to Tampa Bay games. Like,
what do you mean by seriously? Like is it so like
okay, I guess I'll take it back.
Yeah.
I don't take it seriously from the point, like, you know,
like like high emotional investment,
something like that. But I think it only comes when it's with Tampa Bay, more specifically, because like, as much as like most Americans love American football, you know, it's just like it's only here for like 20 weeks and like you basically like half a year, 5 months of watching football. So like obviously with the history that they have, you know, like I'm just like, hey, I'm not asking y'all to win the Super Bowl. I just want to see y'all in the playoffs, you know?
Yeah.
You know, so that we can have some kind of success. Like, I understand.
Something that feels compelling instead of just regular season and die.
Every single year when they come is like 5-11, 6-10, you know,
oh, jeez.
It's like, dude, like, come on. So, like,
just hit 50, please.
Yeah, you know, so like with me with the Lakers, it's kind of like, okay, basketball is like 82 games out of the year. It's here for like 9 months, you know? So
yeah.
Like, you're going to see it again very shortly.
Yeah.
Baseball is just too damn long for me. Like, I'm a Braves fan. And, like, you know, it's kind of crazy because I actually, like, Game 5, we were in Atlanta.
Nice.
We just got to Atlanta, and I didn't know there was an Atlanta Braves restaurant. But on the way there, I already knew they were getting their asses kicked, like, you know, 10-0.
Oh, God.
And I went to Walmart and bought some Braves gear. I'm like, yeah, I'll be repping in Atlanta tonight.
And everyone in the store is just like, yeah. You don't know what's going on in the stadium right now, do you, bro?
As soon as you, like, I really didn't. And sure enough, we get to Atlanta. I bust on my phone. It's like 10-0. I'm just like, oh. And then that's where I discovered the restaurant across the street. I'm just like, okay. But, like, you know, I still had a good time. You know.
Oh, yeah, walk in, see the culture in a way.
Brave stuff.
Yeah.
I love Atlanta, by the way. I mean, although I was only there for a day, but, man, it's like the atmosphere. I guess it's different from Orlando, you know. Like I wouldn't call it
Orlando doesn't have personality, man.
You know, like they really don't. Like it's just funny. Like you walk down the street, people over here doing like a little beatboxing and freestyling, and you walk around the next corner, somebody's playing jazz, you know, with the saxophone and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think for like a Wednesday night, it was very live. For
Wednesday
night, you know?
Yeah. Orlando just doesn't have a culture to it. No. Like Orlando has the medical community, a college town-ish piece because of like.
Could they put the new campuses downtown, like right in the heart of downtown?
Yeah, with like Valencia or whatnot and UCF,
yeah,
but like all like, it's so sad because I've talked to so many people about this, but like Orlando's where people go to die. Like either they come here young and they just die from just like not ever doing anything, or they retire here. Yeah. And like just live out their golden years, which is like pretty acceptable. But like, it's kind of where I'm finally like at the point, like 10 years late, but I'm at the point where like I'm ready to leave like everyone else was at the end of high school, where it's like, I'm ready to get the fuck out of here.
Me too.
Like, I'm ready to go to Austin. Frankly, is the only place I could spot unless like something wild would have to happen for me to like go to New York.
But it sounds for me like I always tell my friends like if I had the choice to get out of Orlando, like I want to like just go somewhere in the country where it's just like quiet.
Middle of the woods kind of stuff.
Yeah, like most people like they love that city life.
If it's one of those where like, because we're like we have a set of friends that like he wants to go get country stuff, but she's like, no, I want to be near the city because she's been sort of a city girl most of her life, and me and Melanie are just like, you misunderstand. Like the game you play is to like buy your own property where there's no neighborhood, no HOA, no real neighbors per se. Like you never fucking see them. And you're like 40 minutes from downtown, like at worst, but you're still like out in the fucking middle of nowhere. Like it's quiet, it's backcountry. And you're close enough to have a decent commute to like a city job where you can make good money, but you're not living in the middle of just goddamn everything.
No, you made a good point about that because I had a buddy who did that. He moved to Ohio, and him and his wife had bought like a property with no HOA. Like I didn't really think of that. That's like,
dude, HOA could like double your rent basically, or double your mortgage basically. Like I'm lucky with where I'm at, but like when Melanie for like about a year was looking to buy, and like HOA does nothing but just prevent you from being able to rent the property. Like it's all it felt like because we were looking to like buy and then rent it or something like that. But like when your mortgage is probably gonna be like over $1,000, and then the HOA is adding on like another fucking 500, it's like the fuck? Why? Like what are you even doing? Like my HOA charges me like 80, 85, and like they do sort of try to keep everything nice. Like try to like put penalties if people like get really like grossly negligent and taking care of like their yards and their houses. But otherwise, like I just have people come through and mow my lawn. So like cool, that's it. Meanwhile, like other HOAs, like for condos, like condominiums, which I think is just literally people are like, how about we just sell apartments instead of like, rent them or something like that. Like get really nice apartments, and then we'll just sell pieces of them. But we still have like the HOA management company running the whole fucking thing. So it's like, yeah, you own that, but you get no rule on what happens to the outside of it. And you have to do like probably shit parking or something. Yeah. So, but yeah, we're all on like buy 5 acres, build like living house, build like a few like of those Amazon kind of like tiny like guest houses, and just like Airbnb those fuckers, have like a freaking workshop where like we can do just like carpentry and metalwork and stuff, and just build shit, and then like have like a little like dance studio, and then have like a fucking like a broadcast building. Wow. Like just like build all that shit. Just build all that shit to where it's like, alrighty, like fucking recording video games and podcasts in that building, record myself making fucking knives, like shit like this, like. My uncle very subtly, well, over the space of a while, I got like a couple week lesson on like knife making and stuff, and so like that is obviously a train spike that we threw in a forge, and then well, how'd it go? I think we did the blade first, yeah. So threw it in the forge and basically took what the train spike was probably about like that long, And so it's just hit that right temperature to where it's not magnetic anymore, and then just get hammered and just bang the fucker out and just like extend the blade out, because it's like with the triangle tip end. So you'll like actually divot it, and then you'll like flatten it out to try to like hit it further down and extend the metal out, and then eventually just figure out how to flatten it on the anvil. And then you put the other end in for at least doing exactly this, where it's got like the corkscrew on the handle. And that's where you just throw it in, hit that, and then you take the fucker over, put it in like a vise, and there's this sort of metal latch thing. Like, think of, it's not a 2x4 obviously, because it'd probably burn on like freaking molten shit, but it just hooks in, and then you just twist the fucker. So like you can see the broad strokes of the corkscrew. That's when it was like hot, and then it got cold, or just we had to pause for a second and put it back in, and then it cooled, and that's where it got the tighter corkscrew. So I think that like, well, you could easily make media content out of just like, hey, I'm here making shit with like, just went and got a whole bunch of fucking random scrap metal, and I'm just gonna like melt the shit down and turn it into like pretty knives or some shit. One thing that I'm aware of, having been an Airbnb superhost for a while, is that Airbnb is looking to be an experience place. So I'm also sitting there thinking, alrighty, if I put the shit together, I could also just literally like, because this is like $2 to like buy one of these on Amazon. So like, while all the initial upfront cost of like getting all the equipment and like paying for like the heat source, like the fuel, I very easily could see like, hey, you pay us for like staying in one of the little Airbnb houses, and then you can also pay for the experience to literally make yourself your own fucking like, you know, letter opener, or just your own train spike knife. Wow. It's like, come on in, sign a waiver, and in probably 4 hours or less, not guaranteed, let me think, probably less than 2 hours. So the experience would probably last less than 2 hours if it's like probably one person, but it'd probably be like a 4 hour setup and cool down for like me running it. Because like you gotta take time for the forge to heat up, and then you also have to leave it out to let it cool down, and just play cleanup and shit. But that's one thing that like I took away from working with my uncle for like a couple months. Because I even like, I got on the other end, but I made a hatchet out of just a piece of metal, just like chalked it out, got a plasma cutter, just zinged it out, and then just took like an angle grinder to it and just like cleaned the fucker up, and then took it to the next level to like just taking the fucker down. And then we got like paracord, like, you know that hiker shoestring?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
It's just like really, it's paracord is what it's called, but it's this very high level cord that's just tough, and like you could use it for like most anything. It's not like climber's rope, but it's just high grade shoelace, bit more or less, for like lack of a better term, because it goes on hiking boots, so it's meant to go into the elements and like survive, not like, you know, shoelaces for like just regular fucking running shoes. Like, you're gonna sweat in them. You're not gonna go out into the wild, blue under the fucking mountains and have to deal with like fraying nylon. But like, we just, you know, just wrapped it around the handle, and now I've got myself a hatchet that I've made from like the ground up.
That's very nice right there.
No, it's like, and the only sad thing about this is you can see sort of it browning with like rust a bit.
Right.
Is that like the only thing that's like I needed to figure out better was just like coating it. Like I wanted to do a powder coat, which is like, you get this, like, think of baby powder, but it's like in this gun, and the gun is plugged into the wall for like powering it, but also it provides like an electric charge that lets the powder stick to the metal, and then you just throw it in the oven like at 450 for like 10 minutes, and it just clean. As opposed to like, have you ever like spray painted something? Yeah. And you do things like just dribbling down, unless you do like that perfect cut. And so like that just like, getting all that shit together, just doing that with my uncle let me know two things. Let me know that I didn't want to keep working with him to make just knives, but it also gave me something where I was like, okay, I now know what it takes to make a knife, which means I now know what it takes to make anything out of metal. And because I come from a very like tough background on my dad's side in a way, in terms of like how their mentality is. And so my uncle the whole time was like, have you done any research? And I was like, no, because I like having a teacher. And he's like, I'm not here to teach, more or less. Like, so like he did teach, obviously, but he's very much about like self-sustaining as a mindset that I guess I just genetically inherited too. So I'm just like, well, I can do the research, I can get the grocery list, and then I can make shit. And I can charge people to have me help them make shit.
Very nice.
So that's just where that's where I'm at. Just all that shit just like whirling around waiting to like just have the space to do it, having more space to do shit, you know?
It's like everything's just it's a matter of time, really.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
I guess the biggest thing is like, just depending on how much patience you have, and me, I like to surround myself with people with patience, like, just be patient. It'll happen, I don't.
Or if you're patient, you're working at it long term. Like my mom gave advice to like this young couple way back when I was a kid, and I just kept it in the back of my head until like, I could apply it having an income. But she told this couple, it's like put $5 away into a savings account like a day. So what I did to just make that actually work with like an online bank account is that like every week I have $35 go away to an account, and I cannot at this time, and I wish they were sponsoring me, or should I had sponsors at all. But VO Bank is a good online bank. They're a bitch, and their app is like really low tech. They're a bitch, and there's a whole bunch of shit to sort of go through with them. But they have interest rates that are like 2.4% right now for like a savings account, which is like could be even fucking 3 times more than anything you're gonna get out of like any bank account these days. So, but if you just play that game of just, if you have your lofty goal in mind and you sort of do the research as you obviously have done, and find the grocery list that it takes to like make it fucking happen, and you just have the patience to just patience to execute and develop something of a plan. Like, what was it? It was the life authoring program that Jordan Peterson has. Is people are like, will always delay on like writing out like you could do it in 30 minutes, but like writing out what they want to do in the next 5 years. And people are always like trying to like do it perfect the first time. And he's like, how about you do this? How about the first time he told his students this. He's like, first draft, just write it badly. Like make that first draft, just write it and you are writing it badly. Just to like do something. And now you have something to start with and make better. And I think too many people are just always caught up on impatience or being too patient or just wanting the perfect jump, when it's like it feels so good to have incremental success on just buying the equipment, like just having the mics in the side room. Like when I was buying this shit back like a couple months, like in the last like few months, like going through summer, just buying the shit and just like throwing it in this room is like, it's there. Like the mics are there. I just gotta wait on like these next 3 things, 2 things, 1 thing. I now know that I can do it. So like,
well, like I said, yeah, everything's good to go. I mean, me personally, like, I appreciate the advice and everything like that. But yeah,
you let me know when you want this studio, basically. Like,
honestly, I will. Like, honestly, I'm gonna go straight home and obviously spend some time with the lady first, and then get up in the morning and just talk to my homeboy. Hopefully he's up right now. I could just send him a message and run it by him, see what he says.
Yeah.
So other than that, like, it's funny, I ran into you. Like, I did tell him in the text form, and like, he didn't really hit me back up, but obviously, like, my girlfriend was there, and she was just like, questioning, like, what we were talking about. So I told her, and I'm just like, I'm really looking forward to this. And like, obviously, I'll have a whole little hiccup and personally, but
yeah, no, yeah.
So it's just like, one of the things is like, now that you're giving us this opportunity, like, yeah, I'm definitely going to contact him, like, just as soon as I leave here, and just be like, yo, man, how do you feel about this? And see, when we can make that happen.
Yeah, I think the thing you could probably definitely pitch to him, depending on how his confidence may or may not waver. Like, if he jumps all in, then you may very well have someone to help you with it. But, like, be prepared to do all the work. And I think you kind of know that. Like, yeah, it's like, be prepared to do all the work, because, like, you sound like you're the one that wants to do it bad enough, that you'll do all the work. And that's kind of where, like, you reserve every ability to kind of, say, like, I'm going to do all the work, and I'd love to have anyone and everyone, including, like, your homeboy, just on as often as you want to fucking be here. Because it's like this mixer is 200, and you're hanging out with 4 guests. But, like, I can tell you Let me think. Because that computer's currently, it's you know how on your on a you know how on a standard tower it has like the audio jacks on the front of it,
Yes.
but also on the back.
Yes.
When that PC was delivered to me, UPS dropped it. So like on that side of it, there's a glass panel and it was shattered. I spent like 2 hours with like a vacuum, tweezers and shit, just cleaning glass out of it. But then I also had like a local tech friend take a look at it, and I'm trying to get my shipper, my friend who built it for me, to keep fighting with UPS because the video card is like bent, and that sort of lets everyone and their mother know that that thing's got like a much shorter lifespan than it should. And the video card was probably like the most expensive thing, because like I think the motherboard was like $200, but like the video card was probably like over $1,000. And UPS needs to fucking replace their shit for breaking it. So, but with it breaking and the glass being all in it, the front panel, as it would be called, there was probably like a little shard of glass in there. And when I turned it on and was running it and was testing out the audio jacks at some point, it just fried in some micro way, or was maybe it was made by the manufacturer. But like the front audio jack doesn't work. So I have to plug this thing actually to the back of it. So what I'm trying to get to is that while this $200 mixer can only do 4 inputs, I have yet to explore like these other things. What you can also do is get like Voicemeeter Banana, which is a free mixer program on your computer. And what that allowed us to do on one of our first beta episodes, the beta 1, where it had Trent, Tyler, Evan, myself, and Melanie. What we did with Voicemeeter Banana is that it allowed us to have the this input for like taking care of one batch of audio, like this whole thing, because this is it right here. This is what goes to the computer. But then we had my headset, which was USB plugged in, obviously, and we threw that in as a second input on the computer mixer with the Voicemeeter Banana mixer. And then you can throw that into the OBS. So the OBS will capture all the audio coming from Voicemeeter. So all you got to worry about is like the webcam. Like, this is getting way technical, but basically,
no, trust me.
yeah. So what you can play is that you can have your 4 guests, 4 mics here, alrighty, and then you can just have a headset on someone, or a USB mic effectively, and then you can actually have more than 4 guests. You just have to use Voicemeeter Banana to do your mixing of the multiple inputs that you have. So it'll be able to capture like 3 external mics from like USB or the Realtek, the actual audio jack plug-in. So you can have 3 different physical inputs, I believe. And then you just, go to a source thing on OBS for just Voicemeeter output, and it'll capture everything onto like one track or whatever, so to speak. I think that'll work. So I think it would end up with Voicemeeter being 1 point of input. I think that's how that would work. I think there might be there could be some variance in there, but that's how, like, if you wanted to have a large bodied podcast, like more than 3 guests, obviously, which I think where it could get hairy unless you're very clearly going between people, like, okay, John's turn, okay, Mike's turn. That's a way that I've discovered to get to where you have more than 4 mics on hand with just little tricks there. So, like,
definitely
fun little tech shit.
Definitely gonna be doing my little homework here, even more homework, more investigating here pretty soon.
Yeah, and you're gonna want to like download the Voicemeeter Banana like manual and read that shit, and then go to sleep and read it again, because like it's all audio tech like language. Right. So you have to either like look up what the words mean and then figure out how each input output piece goes together. Like, I've read that manual and gone to sleep on like 3 different occasions over the past since like, God, what was it, like stage? What was that? I think that was stage 2, like right before stage 2 playoffs in Overwatch League. Like, I had to figure out how to get 2 USB headsets to work, because I didn't have my PC yet. I don't think. No, I didn't. My friend brought his computer over, set it up in my garage, set up like 2 screens for us or whatnot, and I recorded us doing the audio, and then I came in here and like edited our doing the commentary of the game over the game itself and syncing up and all that. So like, yeah, I had to like learn Voicemeeter really quick to be able to do that, and then I had to relearn it like a few months later when I had to figure out how to get like 5 people when this mixer, this Xenix mixer can only do 4 that I know of. At least I think so. I don't know. So yeah, there's all that jazz. I'm exhausted from those memories right now.
Good, man.
So yeah, you gotta get out of here.
A little shortly, but you know.
Okay, cool. I don't want to keep you from anything.
Definitely appreciate the opportunity. You know.
Yeah.
Hopefully, get more of these. Hopefully.
No, definitely. You're welcome to drop in. Let me know. We can definitely like give a tryout for your sports thing.
Okay.
And you can pick my brain of just set it up yourself, so I can show you just how to do it on like my desktop, and then you can have like a little touch of familiarity and all that. Yeah, my brain's fried a little bit right now too.
Hey, don't feel bad, man.
Oh no, we're good. We're good.
I've been up since 4:00 this morning, man. Trust me.
Yeah, I wake up at 5 now.
Yeah, I get up before, regardless, every day. Days off, vacations, don't matter.
I think your girl's gonna really help you to be less of a workaholic.
Very true.
Yeah, because like I remember we've talked about this before off podcast, but like I invited you to like come over for like a Christmas dinner thing or something like that I was having like with family or something, and like you're like, no, I'm just gonna work. I'm just gonna work on Christmas Day. I'm just like, do you have family locally? And do you have any local family?
I do.
You do. So you're like ignoring both like a friend's offer as well as like your local family. It's like, I'm gonna go make money. It's like, alrighty, man. Like you do you, but like.
Yeah, that's how I am. Thanksgiving, Christmas. I mean, I just like, you know, just working and just go home relaxing. I think like, you know, me personally, I got to the point where I don't use like holidays to like really like make such a huge gathering. I think if you love your family, your friends enough, you just always make time for them regardless of what the occasion may be. So
yeah,
you know,
like you make semi-regular visits over to see family, like just throughout the year.
So apologies to all the families out there. You know, like I still love them. You know,
but,
you know, just gotta do me. You know,
yeah.
Like, I think year round, you know, you got plenty of time to see them, and I'm definitely starting to cherish that a lot more nowadays. You know, as we get older. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is how I am, man. You know, no hard feelings on it.
Nah. You I think you just find your rhythm. You just hang out on that, and I think that's where John gave me that. It's like you don't fuck with Billy. Like Billy like finds his stride and he just hangs out on it. Yeah. Like anything that probably comes in and like really wrecks with your, I guess maybe plan for lack of a better term. That's the only thing that'll like probably stir you. It's like we're good. Stop fucking with it. Like.
I just tell people where I'm at. You know, where I'm at. If it works with you, it works with me. You know, if it doesn't, then hey, we'll try again another day.
Well, so I think you. Okay, no wait. Was it your girl? Okay, so I remember I wanted to jump into this, but I couldn't tell. I think we might have clarified differently. So was it your girl that mentioned? Yeah, it was your girl that mentioned you trying out stand up, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I can nerd out onto that a little bit on account of I actually I've been to 3 of the local stand-up like locations, at least for like where most local comics go. So if you want to actually try it out, I can let you know where to go, and I'll go with you actually too, like no problem. Because I've been on and I have been unsuccessful because I am too serious by nature, and I need to probably spend a lot of time on stage to just ramble my way into good bits.
I don't mind doing it. She tried to get me to do karaoke a couple nights ago, and I was just stage fright.
You got that problem?
Yeah. I had stage fright.
You just need to go in and open. You just need to stand up in front of open mics and you're like, hey.
I'm the type of person I like to ease my way into something. I don't like being forced to do something.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that being forced. I'm with you on that.
I feel like I was forced. I mean, I hated to say it to her. Or didn't say it to her. I kind of did, but not just like really like blaming her. You know, like it was her fault. It was just like, we try to have a good time. She tried to get me unwind. I'm the type of person like like, hey, if I feel like I'm in the mood, I'm gonna do it. But I don't like somebody like just sitting there telling me like, go do it, and it's like, go do it.
I have that exact same issue, and where like
that's why I didn't really do it. Like I already knew like once I saw like the karaoke bar, I was kind of like, I know where this is going. You know, like, and like she was like sitting there, and I thought the thing that would have saved me at the time was that when she asked what time this karaoke happened, we were like 2.5 hours early. Mm-hmm. He was like, "Oh, it's like 9 o'clock. It's like 6:30." I'm like, "Oh man, we ain't gonna do this.
We ain't gonna be here long enough for this bullshit."
And literally, we stayed throughout the whole trivia.
Oh God.
We went from like drinks to like fish bowls, and I'm just like, "Oh man, she's really trying to get me to do this."
Oh God.
What made it worse was that they started karaoke like a half hour earlier. I was sitting there, and she's like, "Go do it, go do it." I was like, "No, I can't do it."
Like, can you sing?
I'm not terrible.
Did you have any like singing experience or anything like that through school or anything like that?
Not necessarily, but like I am one of those types. Like I'll put some music on my phone and go in the shower and sing some songs. Like hell, we were singing songs on the way back home yesterday. Like
Like it's more of like is she just trying? Is she trying to get you to express your talent, or is she just trying to get you out of your shell?
I think more so get me out of my shell.
Yeah, I could read that.
Like just because I can't be as stiff, I think most of the times me explaining who I am around her or who I've been in the past 5 years. She's just trying to break me out of that shell. Get me out of that home, being that whole home body mentality.
Yeah, being a home body when you're still young and there's a lot of things to do, man.
So even this current adventure we went on to Tennessee and Atlanta, it's just I never really been out of state. So it's just she's like,
you ain't even been out of the country?
No.
Dude.
Dude. I know to me being out of the country is one thing, just getting out of state, that was just another whole other level for me. She's like, oh, this ain't it. I'm gonna show you a lot of things because she told me she's been to all 50 states in the country.
Dude, you got yourself a nation traveler basically.
So she's like, obviously I'm about to get over my fear in planes. Eventually, I've never been on a plane before. So it's different, So I'm enjoying.
Dude, you were it's funny. You're from Orlando, but you're basically a small town boy, basically. Just been in the country, never left the farm, and now you're being whisked off to the wild blue city or something like that.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty nice, man. I'm not gonna lie, So this was a great experience that we went through this past week. I guess more to come next year.
It's more trips and stuff like that.
Cruises.
I never been on a cruise, so you enjoy that jazz.
Cruises. Obviously, there's the whole going out to Pennsylvania. Yeah, just want to go all over places. Even to the point we got this whole big map that I guess you scratch it out to a different color of the states that you've been through.
Nice.
So we can obviously scratch off Georgia and Tennessee.
Yeah. Solid.
Obviously can scratch off Orlando or Florida because we obviously.
I think you need to go somewhere special in Florida or something like that if you want to scratch that off proper. Either Miami, Key West,
I guess
or
it depends on how you look at it. I mean, me personally, when it comes to Florida, I've been to Tampa, Tallahassee, Jacksonville, Miami.
Yeah.
Tampa,
you could definitely cross that off unless it's a couples map.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I don't know.
You kind of need to ask that question. Is that Billy's map or is that the couples map?
I almost feel like it's a Billy's map because she's already been in all 50 states.
Well, she has, but that's where she's been. It's where has what's your girlfriend's name if you don't mind?
Her name is Melissa.
So Melissa.
Yeah.
So where have Melissa and Billy been? Because you can have because that's a 3-map option. She has her map where she's been everywhere. You have your map where you've been nowhere, and then you have your 2 maps where you two have been together.
Oh, that's a good question. I'm about to ask you that one again.
Yeah, you need to title that. Is this our map of where we're going? Because it's a brand new map basically.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so it's is this mine? Is this gift to me, or is this our communal thing? And both of those have their own positive things. If it's a Billy thing, that needs to be spun in the positive way of already I'm getting out of my shell. This is my progression of getting out of my shell. The couples thing is how much are we bonding as we go across places? Because those trips will equate to bonding, and it's a good thing for y'all to sit down and just try to figure out and discuss.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do that. I got the impression it was my map,
and that sounds fair. That sounds perfectly fair. Either or is perfectly fine. It helps you frame what to take away from the activity of just scratching off each state, because that's its own pride point. That's its own growing point for you, and I think that's probably what she's really focusing on. So it can definitely be Billy's map, but you and I both know you're gonna look at that thing in a year, with each state you went through that year, and it's gonna be it's gonna be both of yours map for that instance.
Yeah, definitely.
Some fun stuff.
Yeah, definitely can't wait. There's more things to come, and can't wait for it.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I think what you guys could do have a lot of fun with, especially being a fan of comedy, is because I cannot stop promoting SAC, doing their improv classes. So much fun, and it'd be a really good thing for helping you get out of your shell in a way, and fight stage fright. other than just like literally dedicating yourself to like going to the other bar on a Monday night or the Orlando Improv on a Wednesday night, signing up and just waiting to go up on stage and be by yourself and try to make jokes. Like improv is totally different than stand-up is in terms of how the art form is like done. But like me and Melanie did level 1 and level 2 of the of Sax Improv, and like part of us can't wait to do level 3, but we also sort of know where we're at with like almost moving and stuff. So I can't recommend that highly enough for just fun activity of like was like an 8-week course. So like you get to look forward to like for us it was like every Sunday afternoon we're gonna go to like a 2-3 hour class that's going over like improv games or like hard improv acting concepts. Like you're learning like an art form of learning how to like let your subconscious unconscious make you delve into the story or delve into the character and stuff. So like fantastic shit there. And improv is one of those art forms that actually just like magnify and like enhance across your life for just critical thinking, for creativity, for comfortability, for, you know, public speaking and stuff as well. So like I can't recommend that highly enough. So like if she wants to pressure you into like doing stand up, you could counter with like, how about we go do these improv classes together?
I don't think it's really pressure. I think it was just like her trying to be funny. And
yeah.
Kind of like really took into consideration because I know I can be funny and like, you know, with my story. So
yeah.
If it's something I'm definitely interested in, like I would definitely like look into that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've thought about it. Like, you know, it comes across my mind, but it's not something like, you know, I don't feel like.
I feel like you're way more excited about the podcast than you would be about doing.
I am, man, because it's like I tell her, like, you know, if I'm gonna literally do like this comedy thing, like you have to understand, like, you know, everything's off limits, and I just get the notion that's not the case. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, like I just rather like, you know, take the safe road and like, you know, just stick with the podcast thing for now, and just, because me personally, like it's still a filling out process for the both of us. So like, you know, I don't want to take it something to the extreme where I
like how long y'all been dating?
5 months.
And y'all living together?
No.
Oh, okay.
Spent a night over there enough to feel like we're living together. But,
no, I know that. I know that phase. I know that phase.
You know, so
I know that phase.
It's like one of those. So like, you know, it's still a filling out process, and like I just crossing the boundaries right now. Like hell, I haven't even met the parents yet. So you know, I just feel like, you know, once we truly understand each other, where we come from, and like, you know, tolerance and stuff like that.
Then you got to learn how to live together and the moving in together kind of thing.
And that's a whole nother phase.
That is a whole nother phase.
Know what I mean? So like, you know, like I'm just honestly glad enough that she's like, you know, very supportive of the podcast thing. She's a sports fan as well, so that just sets the comfort level, like, like, puts me on cloud 9 as far as like comfort level.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then the thing, like, you know, when she looks at she looks at it more than I do. So but like, you know, when she looks at houses, you know, it's just one of those things. She's like, oh, we get a 3-bedroom, you know, you get one for your like,
she's way supportive. You got way supportive girl over there, man.
You know, it's like she like calls it my game room, but she's like, you know, your little game podcast, whatever you want to call it, room.
Yeah, like
I'm like, well, at least I know I'm gonna have one of those. Like,
here's your man cave. Do what you will with it, because that's. I think that's something that like. It's a weird thing that it's so prevalent, but I think it's something that just is like natural in like human biology. Like the guy needs like I think guys and girls, but people need their separate rooms for their like their individual like busybody, like their individual projects. Like I know a couple up in North Carolina, she has her own design room because she's a designer. So she like has just like painting to just doing web digital design stuff. But I don't think he needs a room for anything. Like he may probably want a garage or something, but he's not ever been really a handyman kind of guy, and his thing is more, I think, doing drama and performance. So like he doesn't need a garage or a spare room. He just needs to like have like a local theater thing that he goes and volunteers at and just, you know, learns the script and sings. So like it's sort of that adjustment here. Like that's where, you know, where I'm listing out like all the buildings for like all the other shit to do. Like it's like, or like having like the classic like shed out back that the husband just like has his workshop out back or something like that. Like I always think there's like a couple or someone in the couple is going to need like that space just because they're more creative or more industrious, and that's just their nature. So it's really awesome that you got a girl that's just like already calculating her future of like a long-term lease with like your, you know, big investment like idea.
Yeah.
That's like huge fire.
Huge fire. Can't wait for it, man.
You excited for that shit, man? That's good. That's real good.
Like I said, it just takes time, man. That's all I'm waiting for. Just time.
You been saving up for like buying a house or anything like that?
Not at that phase yet. Right now, we're just looking more towards rental.
Yeah.
Right now, that's a whole other story. But
yeah, no, we don't need to have into that. Yeah.
But it's just good to know that those plans have been talked about.
Yeah, no, especially like it's not just like hanging out waiting to like.
Oh no.
Ask the question. So.
We talk about more than we should be talking about right now in 5 months, but I'm okay with that.
I think you got to. I think when you have really good, open, communicative like couples, because I always had that too. Even like in the first few months, like you start talking about everything, things that like 5-month-old couples should be considering, like marriage and kids and stuff like that. But I think those are conversations you touch on early in the relationship, because you got to figure that crap out. Like you can't go 2 years into a relationship and then find out, oh wait, you don't want to have kids when I want to have kids or something like that.
We talked about that since the first date.
Yeah.
Getting to the point, like we had conversations about stuff last night. You know, it's kind of like it's just good to like, for me personally, to keep constantly hearing that, like as opposed to like the beginning phase. You hear about it in the beginning phase, it's and all then, good. It then kind of fades away. Then you kind of like wondering if you bring it back up or if you should.
Yeah.
Like, with us, it's constant. Like like once a week or twice a month or something like that. Just as long as it's like
all the topics, just all the topics regularly rotate through.
It's not forgotten about.
Yeah.
Like it gives me all the confidence in the world. And like trust me, like obviously if it was up to me, it would happen like this. But I like being patient,
Yeah.
I like, the fact that I have time on my side. Well, not time on my side, but obviously that's all it takes, really. It's just a matter of time,
Yeah.
timing and making sure everything is done correctly on a financial standpoint, which we don't really have financial burdens on either side. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, I think it's just a matter of time and letting the course play out of the relationship, just let it go day by day, see how everything works out, so.
Yeah, definitely.
Other than that, like very confident about it. Definitely gonna go home and share this information with her now. Just see how.
Yeah, y'all are kind of dialed in there, basically.
Yeah, definitely
yeah, because I think she'll hear all that and be like, "Well, you gonna call your friend and then call Aaron back to be like setting this shit up and stuff, like." Because
like she even asked me this morning right before I left. She was like, what are you doing today? I'm like, well, I'm gonna get my new phone and then I'm gonna go to my mom's house. And she's like, what about your friend? You going to your friends? I said, yeah. She's like, when? I'm like, well, he said 6 or 7, but now I'm gonna get there at 6, So she's like next thing you know, she's like, what do you guys want to talk about? I'm like,
no idea.
I think he just wants to get to know me type thing.
Yeah.
She's like, she's like, you don't even know what you're talking about? I'm like, I recall he did say at the Improv that, just to do like an introduction show, like, introduce me to his audience and stuff like that.
Something like that, yeah. Well, I think I was just like, to probably, because I could probably recall perhaps better than you could. Like not as an insult, just like I recognize that we'd worked together more or less for like the 6 years that I was there, because like you never really rotated out of that store.
No. But
I just saw that happenstance situation where we just ran into each other at the Improv. Just like hit up, do a quick catch up, but also like the reason I wanted to do JHP is because I meet interesting people, but I've also sort of learned from lessons from Jordan is that like if you pay attention enough to anyone, their lives are actually endlessly fascinating. And it's usually like if you find yourself bored talking to someone, it's because you're not paying attention.
Correct.
And that's where like I wanted to have JHP for a lot of other projects, but also because I meet fascinating people because I have a very good filter, or I have at least a very good way usually of just finding the interesting parts of people. At least like because I usually always sort of make the reservation for like plastics, because there's always those exceptionally normal people that somehow appear just very uninteresting. Like it just feels like they're there. And so running into you and just doing the quick catch up, and like I mentioned the podcast, just doing the beta episodes, and you're like, yeah, I saw, and I'm just like, well, I'm gonna take that as a sign of like, I like this guy. He's been good. He's been honorable. John I think we had just talked about. I think I just had like the hurricane had just passed, hadn't it? Like had Dorian just gone by?
Yes.
Yeah. So like that previous week or something like that, I was helping John on his route, just throwing pretzels and stuff, and like we'd eventually gotten to talking about like our history at the retail outlet, and brought you up, and he's like, no, and this is what he understood about you with just like Billy will do good work. He might trip here and there, but like don't mess with him because like it's not that you're confrontational. It's like don't disrespect the guy when he trips. He'll make it right. And like John's one of those guys that I've known is incredibly fair, but also incredibly thorough. It's like if he's criticizing you, he's gonna give you the full sandwich of like he may very well do like the compliment sandwich, but he gives you like a thorough of like you didn't fuck up. It's like you fucked up. Here's how you fucked up, and here's how you make it better. And he's got like a great energy about it at the same time, where like there's no downtrodden who he's talking to. It's additive, it's proactive, it's challenging you, it's fucking with you a little bit. Like, cause like you saw that shit, like I'm pretty sure, where he's like, come on, man, you got this. Like, come on, I'm already a motherfucker. Like, he's just got that. And he did that to us when me and Melanie helped him just throw stock because his shelves were just getting blasted. So, like, all that sort of came together. I was like, I'm going to invite Billy over. We're just going to sit and we're just going to dive into whatever we talk about. Like, because that's what Chris and Joe both do. They talk about whatever sort of comes to mind about either or. And once the guest sort of gets that comfort in the first, I mean, for you, it's like first 2 minutes, just dive in. Just dive into whatever, anything. And I think that's what I know I crave out of media now is not like the jumped clip stuff where it's like sentence cut, sentence cut, sentence cut, like where it's really quick paced. Like there's a time and place for that, and I enjoy that for some things, but for like sincerely and thoroughly understanding a person, having like an uncut 3-hour interview is like the best, that is like the most required thing for properly understanding like either big concepts or full people. Right. So like I've always like people are just like, you don't know what people did that to me too, like as your girlfriend did with like asking me about like coming over here. It's like, you don't know what you're gonna talk about? It's like, is your podcast gonna have like a specific topic? I'm like, no, like it's just gonna be sitting down talking to people or getting educated or doing an interview or doing a biographical interview on like, like my mother, for example, or something like that. Like get her friends online or in person and just ask them who Doreen was. Because like she passed back in 2016 and now it's 2019. I'm stabilized because of her, because of how she raised me and also what she left me. And I'm going, this is when I would start being friends with my parent, with like my mom primarily, and get to know her as a person as opposed to that idealized version that we all have of our parents, where like they're just like deities because of just, you were a child, you knew nothing, you had nothing, and they just pull you from scrap and they just mold you into who you are, and they're like that to you until you're a fully formed, self-sufficient, adult. Like you're like in your 30s or your 40s, like with kids or some shit like that, and you really start to actually get to know like, wow, they were just as fucked up as any of us, but like you learn all those lessons and you like make real friends with them or something. And like I'm kind of there. I'm like at the beginning of that in a way, and she's not here. So like the next best thing that I know I can do is grab like family history, is just get her friends from across the country and coworkers or people that worked with her in her industry and, optician, and as a licensed optician, be like, tell me Doreen's stories. Because those are the stories that I have to frankly track them down if I ever want to hear them. And that's a big thing for me. So like, yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely relate, not to that extent, but me personally, like, me being raised by my aunt and uncle up until like I personally decided to run away myself when I was 16.
Jeez.
Not knowing who your mother, like I tell a lot of people, like my mother's been a troublemaker, like so I would say at least like anywhere between 7 to 10 years of my childhood was spent behind bars. You know, so it's just like, you know, I'm very thankful what my aunt and uncle did for me. You know, like they didn't have to do that. No. You know, it's just like, you know, they taught me how to be a responsible man at a young age. And you know, everything from cooking and cleaning to being responsible. As a kid, you kind of wonder, like, you know, like, why am I doing this? You know, like, I'm supposed to be doing, like, kid-like things. You know, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, here I am 33 years old, and it's kind of like, makes sense now. But at the same time, like, you know, like, I'm still learning about them. Because now, like, I'm 33.
And you're learning about your aunt and uncle and stuff?
Still to this day, absolutely. You know, they've been married 40 years, you know? So, like,
oh, damn. Like, they golden, man. So, Jesus.
Like, you know, it's just like, you know, and then me being the age that I am, I'm starting to feel bad because it's like, you know, I don't spend as much time with them as I should. They definitely deserve way more respect than I've been showing, you know? And then, obviously, there's my mother, you know? Like, my mother had me when she was 16 years old. So, you know, it's just like, you know, now that, you know, she's been, look, my mom's not the best, but at the same time, I treat her like she is, like any kid should. And you'd be surprised. I tell a lot of people, like, I'm still learning about my mom. You know, it's just like, you know,
well, you got like 3 parents right there. Like, and it doesn't sound like, was your dad ever involved or anything?
Never.
Or was
I don't know what he looks like.
You got nothing.
I just know her first name. That's it.
Damn.
But
you basically got like 3 parents right there in a way.
I do.
That's
and a lot of it was like me being stubborn. You know, just
no shit.
Just trying to be like, you know. I just felt like the growing up in the household was just too strict. You know, like I see all my other friends, they be outside in their bikes and, you know, kickball and all this kind of stuff, and I'd be the kid like looking out the window like,
can I play?
Like, yeah, exactly. Can I play? And then, like, you know, people wonder why, like, you know, at my age, you know, it's just like, dude, like, you're 33, why are you playing video games? Like, well, shit. And, like, you know, if a lot of your childhood was taken away from you because, you know, you grew up in a strict household, you know, like, sorry, I guess I'm a late bloomer when it comes to that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah, my easy reference that comes to mind is, like, get rid of the pedophilia, but, like, the Michael Jackson thing. Like, where he builds, like, a childhood, like, dreamland. Because he never had one.
Never.
Yeah.
So, like, to me, it's like, you know, I'm not saying, like, you know, I'm going to go outside and play kickball, but, you know, like, I visualize myself, like, if I had a child right now, like, that was, like, 6, 7 years old, like, I'd be sitting right there playing video games right alongside him. If that was his passion. You want to go to the park, I'm going to be right there playing with you just like a kid, you know? Like, because I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with with the way I was raised. You know, obviously, like I'm appreciative of it because of the fact that look at the person I turned out to be. Yeah. Like, I don't give a lot of people the background story of my aunt and uncle as far as how they raised me. But at the same time, like, you know, like if people ask about my personal parents, like that being my mother and my father, I tell a lot of people, like, to be honest with you, like my aunt and uncle, like they did a lot for me. My uncle worked two jobs, bro. Yeah. So it's like, you know, like he was never home, so he never, like, you know, I never really had that. Like father figure, connection. Yeah. You know, so really, when I think about it, I tell people a lot about my aunt, and I tell a lot of people about my mom, and people are like, hey, you know, where's dad? Like, you did all this, like, without a father figure. You turned out to be this person without a father figure. Like, yeah, like I'm very happy about it because, like, it rarely happens. I think it's one thing, like, you know, if you have at least one parent, you know, you hope to come out successful, but like you said, like, you know, I don't look at it like that, but you hit it right on the money. Like, I grew up with 3 parents, you know, so it's just like I'm very lucky to be where I'm at right now, you know.
Definitely.
So, yeah, like I'm still learning. Like, you know, as we get older, I'm definitely like when I was over at my mom's house today, you know, like my girlfriend was nice enough to buy her some, like, you know, souvenir and some jewelry and stuff like that. Yeah. And, you know, and then just sit there and just have those conversations I wouldn't have my mom when I was, like, in my younger 20s. Yeah. Like, younger 20s, like, hey, how you doing? Yo, okay, good, bye, I gotta go. Yeah. Okay, I kind of did, like, you know, push her off to the side a little bit because, like, you know, she was over there. I'm like, hey, you know, I gotta go and do this, like, podcast thing, you know. I just call you when I get out? She was like, what are you doing? I'm like, podcast. She's like, what is that? And her boyfriend's in the background, like, oh, yeah, I remember talking about that, man. And so I'm just sitting there, I'm just like, yeah, he lives in Winter Springs. I'm like, Mom, I promise I'll call you when I get out of here. She's like sitting there. Normally I don't brush her off to the side. Like, when I go to my mom's house, I'll chill over there for, like, you know, a good hour or two.
Definitely.
But that was one of those times where, like, you know, I'm just like, hey, yeah, I gotta go. Like, you know, just kind of, like, went over there, dropped the stuff off. Yeah, I've been running around all day because, you know, obviously we just got back in like 12, like around midnight last night.
Oh, y'all just get back in town?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
But yeah, it was definitely a great experience. And hope to have plenty more like that, you know. Such a great time, man. I don't know, man.
It shows you what it's like, because I have Hermit on my dad's side as well. It kind of shows you what it's like when you finally get out of that, like, local shell.
Yeah.
It's like traveling just, like, broadens the hell out of you.
And it's funny, like, just touching on that conversation about, like, you know, family, you know. We actually went to the World of Coke yesterday.
Nice.
And they showed this video where, like, you know, like how Coke brings all these families together.
Like Coca-Cola? Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Like, you know, like Coke and Smile type thing.
Yeah.
And I was honestly fighting tears in that thing because I'm sitting there, like, just staring at the wall. I'm just like, or staring at the screen. I'm just like, man, I want to cry so bad, but I don't want to feel like I'm the only person crying because, like, and then, like, it was funny, like we had the conversation later on. She's like, can I ask you a question? I'm like, yeah. She's like, how'd you feel about that video? I'm like, man, I almost cried in that video. She's like, why? I'm like, you know, the exception of, like, my aunt and my uncle, and my mom, and obviously my aunt has her son.
Yeah.
I tell her, like, one of the biggest things that's been, like, out of my life recently is, like, you know, just that connection.
That sense of family in a way.
Yeah, you know, like, don't get me wrong, like, you know, I feel like I have plenty of friends, like, you know, I could get online and talk to and chat with.
Yeah, but, like, a sense of family, just it's a heavier anchor than friends are.
Yeah, so, you know, it just, I told her, like, it just hit home. And she's like, why? I'm like, you know, because you never know when that last time's going to be that moment, you know? And so she's like, what do you mean? And I started talking about my uncle, like, you know, like, he's, you know, had a couple of heart surgeries, you know, and stuff like that. I'm like, you know, that time is coming, you know, like, so I kind of, like, want to cherish it. And I'm just like, you know, I enjoy those kind of things. I told her, like, how much I enjoy, like, you know, you watch those military videos of like the sons or whoever's in the military come back and sees their family surprise. I'm like, yo, I'm like a sucker for that.
Yeah.
You know, like I would literally, like, cry right in front of people I saw.
I feel like that's like your subconscious, unconscious, just like not overvaluing, but like incredibly highly valuing that classic family and the family structure and the family dynamic that you just didn't get. Like your aunt and uncle, like, kicked ass, took names, but you knew it was your aunt and uncle.
Yeah. And you'd be surprised, like, there's a lot of stuff about me that I just don't think, like, I tell people. Normally when people see Billy, they see, like, the loud mouth, like, I don't give a fuck, like, you know.
Yeah.
Like, but then, like, you know, really got, like, the chance to sit down and talk to me and just, like, depending on who you are, honestly, then kind of conversations you want to have with me, like, I could let a person in that, you know, they'll just be like, wow.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, because obviously, like, you know, perception and first impressions is always going to be, like, you know, key to somebody when they meet them for the first time. Yeah. You know, so obviously, like, you know.
But there's an onion peeling game there, too.
Yeah, it is. And I think it takes a lot to peel off of me. And it's crazy, you know. It's just, like, nowadays, like, you know, lately, as I'm growing up, you know, it's just, like, you know, new friends come, old ones fade, you know, like, you know, relationships as far as, like, family, like, you know, either unless you're starting a family of your own, you know, or you got, like, brothers and sisters, you know, like, old family starts to fade, you start to build your own, like, empire, or you know, you become an uncle, or
yeah,
you know, it's like those things, like, you know, it's crazy. Like, I'm really starting to take that into consideration now, like, I really am. And,
well,
like,
it's something when you start to realize that, like, you're not the baby generation anymore. Like, when you look at, like, the 3 tiers, like, you have, like, the young baby generation, you have, like, the middle pack generation, that's sort of, like, where your aunt and uncles always were, and then you have, like, the grandparent generation, and you start to realize you're actually starting to get into that middle group, to where, like, oh, I'm the adult at, like, I'm one of the adults at, like, Thanksgiving or at Christmas or at these family gatherings, because now there's all these little kids running around. It's like, crap, like, the whole, like, hierarchy shifted, and it's like, now I have to start figuring out, like, what's my place gonna be, like, in this family, because now I'm not just, like, you know, a kid just having fun, like, no responsibilities and stuff. Like, now it's like, what am I going to contribute to this family, or, like, you know, help it solve demons, or take care of kids, or make impressions on these kids, you know, or, you know, am I going to take care of, like, the older generation? Like, am I okay being, like, the caretaker in some format, whether it's, like, fiscally or, you know, physically, like, actually, like, you know, bedside manner stuff.
And it's crazy too, like, cause I haven't had that feeling in a while. As far as like, you know, I just go by what I see, like, what my friends go through, and honestly, like, I'm really looking forward to, like, you know, what the adventure brings with my girlfriend, like, you know, like how can I say? She says she has a, like, you know, she calls it like her army of family, you know. Like
she got big. She got that big like New England kind of family thing going on.
I don't know what they call it right now. Like, I mean, I know she has.
It's Pittsburgh, so it's like.
I mean, it is. I guess it's just like, you know, how they get together and have fun. More or less, you know. They all
have you actually been to any family gatherings yet? It's only been 5 months, right?
No, not yet.
She I'd say get ready to throw the fuck down.
they had one, but it was like too early in our stages to like for me.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
It was like one of those things like I know it's there. It just maybe it may happen on Christmas. Maybe it may happen.
Get ready to not work during Christmas, fucker. Like
I don't know.
You go watch a bunch of like white people throw down.
We already had conversations about that. She's like, "Are you working on Thanksgiving?" I'm just kind of like, And then I had somebody else walk up to me, ask me the same question that works with me, and they're like, you know, "Hey Billy, you want to take Thanksgiving off this year?" I'm just kind of like, no. And then like, you know, so obviously then I kind of like thought about it. You know, I'm just like, all right, I'll tell you what, you know, just go ahead and do your thing. You know, like I'll probably surrender to Thanksgiving this year at least. Christmas on the other hand, we'll see. I don't know. I just like working. I guess I'm just getting a whole different perspective now as far as like, you know, honestly, like just being loved and like, you know, just seeing what's out there now.
Yeah.
It gives you like a whole different perspective.
Having significant events in your calendar.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like one of those things like, you know, I'm really starting to pull back on certain things I would normally do. Like, yes, I would normally work on, you know, Thanksgiving. I would normally work on Christmas. Now I'm really having second thoughts about it. It's like, you know, so I love it. You know, I just hope it just keeps happening. You know, and that's that. And I'm very blessed.
Yeah.
Very blessed.
It's tip top right there. It's tip top right there. That's fantastic, man.
It is. Very fantastic. Oh, this is great.
Oh yeah, no man, that's because it sounds like my comparison is that like so my comparison is that I actually have at certain points in my life had like 4 Thanksgiving or 4 Christmas dinners to go to, and I enjoyed that up until like the most recent years. Like I'd done it enough, but like when I was. Because of my parents' divorce, but also because like both sides of my parents, like my mom and my dad's side, are very strong families. So like every Easter, Christmas, and Thanksgiving, I would go to like my mom's side of the family at like 1 o'clock or something like that, and have like lunch, dinner there, like full spread, because they're on team like get it done, get it cleaned up, and then hang out the rest of the day watching like Hallmark Channel or golf or something, but. I would get like a good spread there, and then I'd go over to my like dad's side of the family where it's like Syrian food because they what was it like? Was it Jiddu? I think it was like my great grandparents. I think it was my great grandparents. They moved over here as Catholic immigrants from Syria, like right there around Israel, Middle Eastern area. They were like persecuted. They immigrated over, and Syrian food and very strong family dynamics there. And so then I'd go over there. So I'd have like 2 families to juggle. But then when I had like a significant relationship, then I'd have to figure out like how am I going to rotate between like my 2 families and then like their 2 families. So like that was like really cool fun to like hearing your perspective, realizing that like it's only like now with like your girlfriend's involvement is driving you towards what sounds like a really strong family. In terms of like how they treat holidays, and it's like it's providing a real sense of value to me of just like, for all the flaws that like both all the families that I've like sort of been a part of for like holidays or the ones that I've had in my entire life, it is fantastic. Like it's fantastic to hear you're finally getting a taste of what I've taken for granted for like 20 some odd years of like, yeah, welcome to like, yeah, you should be making time like throughout the year to see them, but there's something that's like eventful, like big event, like traveling event, to like spend these these holidays with them, and just like have like a very clear date of when you're gonna see family, catch up, and just be with them. So it's thank you for helping me appreciate mine, and I'm really excited to hear that like you got a girl that's so proactive on getting you to just go do stuff that I won't be surprised to hear you taking off Christmas and Thanksgiving this year. Like regardless of how much you like to work and just like have that money, like you're gonna wish you had the money, but you won't be so regretful that you'll be resentful of the time you spent with like what could be your like future new family in a way. So like
there has been talks. We'll see. Be continued.
We'll check back like New Year's like, so did you go? You went to Thanksgiving? Yeah. Did you go to Christmas? Yes, I wasn't happy about it. They gave me gifts and I cried in front of everyone.
I know one thing to expect is a lot of food, man. That's what I've been hearing. So, yeah, I definitely have some stories when I get back up here.
Oh, I look forward to that.
That's one thing about me. I always got stories. I really do. Like, be surprised I'd be at work and I talk to my homeboy. I could sit there for like the first hour of work and just be like, blah, 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 blah.
I remember you. Well, I remember you would follow Chandel around, just like talking like whatever relationship problems you had for like a minute. Like,
and it's funny too because it's been like really tough. Like since like I haven't seen her in like probably 2 years now.
Yeah, because she transferred, didn't she?
Transferred. So it's like it's been tough to like find that person to talk to.
Yeah.
So
because she could listen to anyone forever. Like when I had my girl problems, I would when I was on higher lows, like just chatting with her was.
Actually, I think I seen her last year because I recall the time I saw her. I saw her at Target and I was like, "Yo, how you been?" And she's like, "How's everything between you and so and so?" I'm just like, "Man, let me tell you something." And she's like, and she sat there for like 5-10 minutes, and then next thing you know, like I couldn't recall like if it was because I couldn't stand around long enough, and she had her kids with her.
Yeah.
Kinda, like cut it short. I'm just like, man.
Yeah.
I miss those days.
Yeah.
So now, like my homeboy who I was speaking of his name is Mark.
Yeah.
Usually when I get to work, like we just sit in the back room and just be like talking for like a whole hour, and I look at the time like, oh shit, it's like what? Like I gotta get to work, bro. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning. Like sat there for like the first hour, and then like even sometimes my boss is like, what have you been doing all day, Billy? Like what have you been doing? Like organizing. Just like just make up some bull and
working back walls and shit.
Yeah, now it's just like now with my girlfriend now I guess I don't really like have like problems like you just go and talk to her just like other than like how your day was
yeah like always have that
it's just something simple
that like, daily debrief
I think that's just the best part about it it's just like there's no like no drama affiliated in it just like hey how's your day it was good and plus we consistently talk throughout the day that's what I love the flexibility about my job it's just like
your only job is just get out there, throw the truck, throw the stock, off you go.
Same company, different positions. It's just like hey, what you doing? I'm doing this. How's your day going so far? It's also good to know like every single time she calls, it's like, how's your day going?
Yeah, like she's checking on you, checking on her. Like
how you doing? I'm doing good. How you doing? I'm doing good. How's your day going? Good, and yours good. Like even though you're gonna hear that same response, it just feels good. Like. Me personally, I'll tell you this right now. I can't stand about people. When I call somebody or somebody calls me, the first thing I don't like coming out of their mouth is like, "What you doing?"
It sounds like a parent. Like
no, because I have friends who will do that. Like they'll call me like, "Yo, what's up? What you doing?" I'm doing good. How are you doing? It's just like it's
like it's more like they're more interested in are you too busy to take my request right now?
It's just like like I like the whole like how you doing?
Yeah.
Like I might have some little jokey jokes here, but I make sure by the time like we carry on the conversation, like
you've checked on how that person's yeah.
You never know. Like somebody just call me and be like, "What you doing?" I could be like, "Yo, my car is sinking right now, but thanks for asking how I'm doing though." Or something like very random, like, like, oh, I'm in pain, like, but hey, thanks for asking how I'm doing. I me personally, I just think it's like really disrespectful. Like maybe in the text form, I don't know, like is this because most people like to abbreviate, WYD,
yeah.
Like, But I think personally, when you call somebody and you want to have a conversation with them, like, you know, how you doing?
I think breaking that down is that, like, they're more asking, like, are you busy? Like, because they want your time.
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, how are you doing is asking, like, it's not asking about your time. It's asking, like, what's your state? Like, it's implying that they care.
Yeah.
What you're doing is, like, is almost implies there's a request on the way.
Yeah, so it's just like, I don't know, maybe it's like one of those old school things we just like transcended into like what you're doing.
If I've learned anything, there's a lot of old school things that need to come back.
Yeah.
And a lot of new school things that are everyone feels they're bad.
And the funny part is, like, my girlfriend actually, she you say like old school things, like one of the biggest things is like the funniest joke that we had so far in our relationship. Obviously, like, you know, coming from different backgrounds, you know, she's the type, like, you know, hey, I like the door. I like a gentleman to open the door for me.
Yeah.
You ask me personally, I couldn't tell you the last time or if a woman I've dated ever asked me to open the door for them. You know, it's just kind of like one of those things, like, hey. So I'm like kind of looking like, yo, she's being serious right now. Like, you know, it's like one of those things, like, go to a restaurant, you know, I just watch her open the door, and she was just like, really? I'm like, oh, so you like serious about this? And the biggest joke that I had about it was that we were going to Hobby Lobby one day, and I opened up the car door. She's like, okay, so I shut it. And then I made this joke because obviously you go into a Hobby Lobby, they got the sliding doors. And so we crossed the street, and I said, stop right there. She's like, what? And I just like jump out in front of the door, and it like opens up. She's like, are you being serious right now? And I just started cracking up laughing. It was just like
solid.
I was like, hey, at least I opened up the door for you.
Got the door for you.
Like,
can't be bitching now.
Like, that's not what I meant, Billy. I'm like, yeah, you did. You said doors. Like, you know, it's a sliding door, so I opened it for you. So like, you know.
Oh my gosh.
And so like we was like, and then, like,
modern day chivalry right
exactly.
there.
So like we get ready to leave the Hobby Lobby. Obviously, you at checkout, and like all these people are watching. And so the lady was like, oh, you guys have a nice day. I said, she's going to have a better day after I do this. And she's like, what? And like I said, watch this. And she's like, you're not going to do it again, are you? I was like, oh, yes, I am.
Oh, geez.
I'm like, this is how you be a man, everybody. I just jump in front of the door again. It just opens up. It's just, you know.
Open the door for your woman.
So, like, I mean, like, you're right about that. You know, it's just, like, one of those things, like, ever since that day, like, it really stuck with me. Man, I don't care what it is, car door, house door, screen door, you know, like, I make sure I open it for her because that's what she likes, you know, that's what she's used to. And me personally, not only is because of what she likes, I just think it's just something, hell, us as men nowadays, we just don't do it enough. You know, so, and I even something that small, I just see how appreciative she is of it. I think
it's one of those things that got caught up so much in, like, a toxic culture framing. It's like communicating like you're the weaker sex, or like some chivalry thing, or guys have to serve. Like, there's some sort of negative twist that came into it that removed that. When, like, I was raised with that, but there was something about it that's sort of always communicated. Like, my mom, as the primary one that raised me, because my parents got divorced when I was like in 5th grade, so I was like 9 at the time. But it was one of those where it's like, it wasn't like, you're the man, you open the door for the girl. It was like, no, you open the door for everyone. Like, it's like, here's a courtesy that you always are sort of paying forward to, like, anyone. Like, I'm always, you know, I'm eyeing, like, the couple that's coming in or the family that's coming in, and I'm just, like, holding the door or something like that. Just, like, here's a courtesy that you should be doing for everyone. And I think there's some part of us in terms of the dating culture that's just, like, you're being patronizing or misogynistic or something like that when you're opening the door. So, like, I think a lot of girls probably either don't care or have made it toxic, or do care, but, like, maybe either don't want to say it, or don't feel they can say it, or something like that.
I personally think they're just not vocal enough to say it. I mean, like, I appreciate about my girlfriend now because she was vocal about it, or else I wouldn't have known. And I told her the truth. Like, it's like, yo, I'm not used to that. You know, I'm not used to people asking me to open up the doors for them. Like, I might be courtesy here and there, honestly. Like, you know, hey, if I see like an elderly person walking through the door or trying to come through the door, I'll hold it open for you. Or like, I mean, that's the best I'm gonna do because, like I said, I don't go out in public like that. So, you know, the only way I'm gonna know something is if you say it. A lot of people don't usually say something. They just let it stay within them, and you got to kind of like play like the little mind head game. And like, I'm not about that.
There's something that I think I've realized in terms of even also like with me and Melanie's relationship is that because we also are big psychology buffs, so we actually understand like ourselves in a way that, and people don't have what we nerd about, and also like not our training, but like our hobby study, because she does have her undergrad in psychology, but I've also spent a lot of time sort of understanding people, and that people will have emotional reactions, but they never like go to sleep on it, like, deal with the emotion in a way, but like sort of sleep on it or get to the point effectively where they articulate what they felt. Like, I wish I could think of a really good example right now, but like, so like your girl, like hypothetically could get pissed at you for not holding the door, but she doesn't say anything. Or she says like, why didn't you hold the door for me? And you're like, well, I need to kind of know to do that. And she throws out like a classic, like, if you really cared for me, you'd know why I was pissed. Like some really bad cop out. As opposed to like getting to the point of scrambling through the words and finally being able to like articulate, like, that's a courtesy that lets me know that like you respect me more than you respect like a regular person. Like, because you're not going to open the door for like everyone in terms of like how you function. But if you're opening the door for her all the time, that is a clear public display of affection. And like, I mean, that's where you can start delving into like the 5 love languages. Have you heard about those?
No.
Let me go grab the book. Be right back.
Okay.
Just because I forget all of them. It's a little thing, easy to read. So, the 5 love languages: The Secret to Love That Lasts by Gary Chapman. For those who want to look for the pink cover, there it is. So, the 5 love languages: words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. So, like, what you can do with at least getting this book for you two, is you can actually start to figure out what each of you innately values, like things that you just value, like things that you didn't sort of like go down a checklist, but I care about that, like things that just naturally speak to you that let you know someone cares about you, loves you, or is doing things that you value. Like this is like and John pointed out that he has applied this over to when he was training and being a manager. Like all the only thing he minus out of that was the physical touch aspect. Mm-hmm. But I think that if you remember the assistant manager Ryan when he was there for a time with John? I did. Yeah, I know. No one has a good positive opinion on him. No one has a positive opinion on him, unfortunately. But one thing Ryan did that I actually found I really appreciate, which I think spoke to one of my love languages, is that Ryan always started your shift by saying hi and giving you a firm handshake. John, on the other hand, as you may remember, just like flew through and like, get this done, and off we go, like just, whirlwind. And I always sort of wish that John had incorporated that quote unquote physical touch aspect of having at least a handshake, because physical touch in a relationship aspect is obviously like kissing, holding hands, hugs, stuff like that. In a business aspect, the physical touch is a very dangerous place, like in terms of HR. But I think you could, through very careful like analysis, and I think the handshake is like the safest thing you can do, of just like good job. And I think most people would understand like we're in a business aspect, especially in our day and age, and going a handshake is a safe thing for the manager to do, and it may at least help communicate to me their appreciation and such.
Also boost like overall like morale.
Well, yeah. Well, like what he sort of pointed out in terms of like, I think gifts he did in a different way, but like it's sort of understand like, so for like words of affirmation, that's like you know, constantly like telling your partner very often that you love them, you care about them, or also like for the professional aspect, like telling your worker like, good job, I appreciate you and stuff like that. And that's just, it's sort of based on like what they need. Like I know I need words of affirmation, not in date. Like we're figuring out the nuances for me. Like when Melanie gave me a bunch of compliments the other night for like, you're amazing, you're wonderful. And then eventually itemized like what it was. Cause like I took care of like a giant pile of dishes that had been there since Saturday. Cause I'd already gone through like one big pile from the party. And then there's like the second giant pile from the rest of the party. And I realized that I normally appreciate words of affirmation, like from my boss at work. But I appreciate words of affirmation for things when, like, it's not clear to me that I've done it well. Or, like, in the space of, like, making a civil household or a well-functioning household is where, like, hey, I saw you do this. And then, like, because I also am big on acts of service, or at least on, like, I think that's it, yeah. So for acts of service, it's, like, in the pairing. It's that there's regular maintenance things that need to be done, and you tell me or I know that you're going to do this acts of service like laundry stuff or dishes or something like that, and you tell me you're going to do it, and then you do it, and like make it kind of apparent to me, because I can very easily like see it and dismiss it as like, that should have been done, that's done, good job, but like let me know you did it so I start breaking bad habits, because I have an unfortunate perpetual negative Nancy of like, I'm persistently critiquing and I have to get better about complimenting, because actually that's the healthiest way to get people to get into good habits is at least complimenting them, like positively reacting to them as we would think of it. Right. So that's sort of like nuancing it of just for at least me. So like what you could very well figure out with both of you is sort of thinking about what you pine for or look for, or like what John did when we sat out in front of the house for like an hour talking about this shit to like him help us figure it out, because he figured it out with his wife. So like, and these all can sort of like jump down in terms of priority. So like, you know, for like his wife, gifts don't mean anything. Like she'll be respectful, she'll minorly appreciate it, but it's not a big thing. Like, you know, of some people that if they get any gift whatsoever, card or a bouquet or something, like they just melt. Like it makes their freaking month. And then there's others, obviously, as we've just mentioned, where like you give them the gift, they're like, cool, awesome, but meh. Like I know like gifts is like probably top 3-ish, I think, if I remember correctly, because like I really appreciate and I really like to give gifts, but that are very sort of specific to a person. Like, I'm not going to spoil that one. Okay, I can do that. So like the two versions that I can give is like, so when I was at an apartment and I had my birthday run through with my roommates, as well as like one of them's girlfriends, one roommate gave me this freaking knife from like, what was a flea market? It was like this knife. It's one of those like on a pedestal. It's got an interesting handle or whatever. And I was just like, Cause he'd seen like my knife collection. Like I didn't have this at the time, but I have like some swords and shit and some knives that I was been given by my dad over the years that are like generally cool, but like whatever. But then like my other roommate and then also like the girlfriend of the roommate that gave me the knife, they gave me, I can't remember who gave which. I know he gave me a specific card that was like a sassy black woman card. Like I still have it in like my trunk of memories. But like one of them gave me honey buns, like just a regular batch of like Little Debbie honey buns, because they'd see me eating like one every day. Like I was buying a batch of honey buns like every 2 days or some shit like that. So like, and we just sort of like had made fun of me about it. So like, happy birthday, here's what you always get. And they gave me like a gift card for League of Legends, so I could get what is the currency there is RP, like riot points. Yeah. So I could like, you know, more rapidly buy like skins or champions or something like that. And though that batch of gifts was such like an overwhelming experience, because it was, you know, it's like a $2 bag of a box of freaking honey buns, but like there's this big joke and like this sort of like personal piece behind it that makes me like, you see how I'm reacting now about it. As well as like the League of Legends thing is like, you guys have heard me for like the past like first few months of living here, me just like raging off of these asshats online, and Chris would just talk about like just sitting there on his phone going through this like, yep, that's Aaron. Oh, he's pissed. Okay, so like
it makes you feel good too. Just let you know, like, you know,
well, someone's paying attention.
Attention.
It lets someone know that they're like paying attention. That's I think what sort of like that sort of communicates to like my subunconscious is like, here's a gift. But it's very, like, it's niche. It's personal. It's, you know, crafted in a way, whether in terms of how it was bought or how it was made. And that's, like, that's big. Like, that's heavy. But, like, you go get a random, you know, fucking knife from a flea market that's, like, you know, looks like a raptor's on the back of it. It's like, no. Cricket. Sorry.
Just hit him with the little quiet like, thanks, I guess.
Like when you got socks as a kid.
I don't know. I think the funniest one that I participated in, but just me personally, I kind of been a person that kind of like just like slowly walked away. Now I want to say slowly walked away from this, but like I would literally tell the person what I want. Like if Christmas comes, I'd be like, yo, I want to do game. I tell them exactly what game it is.
Yeah.
I'm like very
yeah.
But like. I was with my best friends, and like obviously he has a twin brother, so they got him gifts and stuff. So we go over to him and his wife's house, and like he like has like all these gifts, like probably 10 gifts. He's just unwrapping one by one. Socks. He's like, thanks. Next one, t-shirts. Thanks. Then the funniest one was because there was this like Norelco shaver that the girl had bought.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I got this for Christmas. I'm like, same one? He's like, yeah. I'm like, same exact one. He's like, yeah. And I'm like,
damn.
And I just started like cracking up laughing. It was, like, and then he like opens up. He's like, oh, more ties. Thanks, honey.
Oh God.
And I'm like, and like it got to the point.
He's just
like,
deadpanning this whole unwrapping.
It got to the point like then like they gave his twin brother like a movie card like for the AMC and shit. And he's like, what the hell did you get that? Why did you get that? How come I can't get that? Like, you just see the emotion in his face.
Wow.
Like, don't worry, bro. Just put on your new tie, bro. You be straight.
Oh, God.
New tie, just, like, making fun of it. It's just, it's just that point on. Like, I've been, like, very upfront. Like, I'm like, yo, I don't ever want to have, like, a birthday or Christmas like that. You know? So I'm, like, very upfront. It'd be like, what do you want? Give me a gift card to GameStop. I don't care how much it is.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that simple.
Yeah.
You know, like, even my girlfriend now, like, I'm telling her, like, you know, she'd be like, well, if I got you something for Christmas, what would you want? You give me a gift card to GameStop. You can buy me a new PlayStation controller. Hey, you can buy me some VCs for NBA 2K. Like, I'm like very upfront. I'm like, if it ain't none of those, like, you know, I don't want it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like one of those things, like, you know, just saying that she's like, oh, just like that. I just can't surprise you with something. I'm like, don't be that.
Yeah.
You know, don't be the socks and shoes or the socks and t-shirt type person. Like, I could get that every day I want.
That's where I don't think you actually have like if I was gonna just start thinking, I don't think gifts is like high on your list of things that like really communicate, you know, love to you. Like
it does, but I'm the type of person, like, I'm not saying it doesn't.
But you're mad straightforward.
Like,
ideally, I think.
I'm mad straightforward, but I just think like the way like I buy stuff, it's kind of like when I look around at your room. Yeah. It's like if you were to buy me a monitor.
Yeah,
I'll be very specific about what kind of monitor it is.
Yeah,
you know, like the specs and all that kind of stuff. That's the type of person I am. So I would rather be the person, like, you know, if you want to like help participate in it, like, you know, hey, at least I'll be like, give me like a $50 gift card to Best Buy.
Yeah,
I'll take care of the rest.
Yeah,
like, I'll be happy just by something like that.
Yeah,
you know, like I wouldn't want my girlfriend to go out and like buy me like if I wanted that keyboard, I could easily be like, yo, give me that keyboard that kind of glows, and she gives me like the wrong brand or whatever. Cause that kind of stuff, like the way I am. Instead,
so I think the sort of question I want to jump into there, because it's sort of like, what's the emotional reaction? Like, is it because there's a certain point where you're being either very efficient with the gift receiving and whatnot, or because like I think what this will dive into, because I haven't read it but I've sort of understood the concepts, is that like the gifting, or at least how the gift is given, or perhaps the quality of the gift or whatnot, communicates to you like how they value you. So it's like, do you feel that Like, do you feel like how they give the gift, or if they pay attention to how specific you are in your gifts, is that a sense of value, or are you just playing like something that's very utilitarian, very like, efficient?
I think it's like value, just because them showing interest in what you care about.
Yeah.
I think that's really huge to me.
Do you think that if they follow you, if you tell them exactly what you want and they get exactly what you want, that they're clearly like displaying to you what they feel about you in a way?
I do, because at this I think it's just a matter of like them paying attention to like what you like on like details.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, like, even if like they don't have to like tell you, like, I think it better yet if, like, for example, I like playing PlayStation.
Yeah.
So if my girlfriend obviously clearly blatantly sees that, it's just like one of those things, like, hey, maybe I should buy him a controller, or maybe I should buy him like something else out of surprise. If it had something like any way remotely had to do with PlayStation, I'll be ecstatic. Not only will I be ecstatic because she's doing it, but she also pays attention to like what I like.
Yeah.
Even like a crazy story, like, and I get knocked on a lot about this recently. It was about like 3 weeks ago. She's at Ross, and she's like, babe, I just bought you like a really cool shirt. You're gonna like it, but she wouldn't tell me what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent the whole day sitting here like, okay, like, what the hell's at Ross that I would like?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I go to Ross, I see some cool stuff, but nothing like.
Nothing you're gonna trip balls over.
Yeah. So it's like, so obviously we get back to the house, and she's like, here it is. So I said, what is this? She's like, open it. And me personally, I'm a big fan of dry fit clothing.
Uh-huh.
So it's
okay.
So it's like, pull it out. The funny part is I pulled it out from the back, so I saw the back side first, and then it's like sitting there. I was like, oh man, this material feels so nice. I'm already like, cool, this is awesome. Then you flip the shirt around, it's a Pittsburgh Steelers logo right there. I'm just kind of like,
you were good, and then you busted.
And then also I'm just like, looking out, and she was shocked. Because she's like, you like it? I'm like, this is badass. Like, it really was. It was like a badass shirt. It's just like, she likes Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Okay, so I value that.
Yeah.
And I like dry fit, so I value that.
Yeah.
And I really started kissing on the forehead, like, I kiss, like, hey, this is awesome. Because she knows, like, I'm a fan of dry fit shirts.
You flipped me and her, because I was like, I was edge of my seat on that, Jazz, because it was like, oh, it wasn't Tampa. It should have been Tampa. But you're like, yeah. Like, we together on this.
So it's like, to me, it's like, I ain't gonna lie, I could have easily been butthurt it's not Tampa Bay, or I could have, like, I personally felt like, me being supportive, I think both people got value. Like, she took interest in something I like, which was dry fit clothing, and then, like,
then she's like, here's my name on it, like, from me, and like, you with me, because like, you'll be with her on Pittsburgh Steelers games, and she'll be with you on Tampa games.
So it's like, also, I value the fact that she's a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so it's like, one of those things, like, okay, we both just got the best of both worlds. Like, she's happy that I'm supporting her team. I'm happy she bought, like, material that I like, so
no, it's fantastic.
That right there by itself was like a perfect example. So, like,
that's a high moment right there, wasn't it?
So, like, the good thing about it is, like, I'm upfront with her about, like, certain things that happen. So, like, obviously, if that time came around, like, where she wanted to gift me something without telling me, like, I may tell her, like, what I like up front, as opposed to, like, something, because, like, I don't know, when I saw that whole experiment with the whole, like, socks and underwear and all that kind of weird stuff, I'm just like, don't be that person. I'll tell her straight, like, don't be that person, because, like, Friday come get paid, I go to Walmart and get it if I really need it.
Yeah.
I need you to do it for me, like think of something else, like, that's like, that would catch me off guard.
Yeah.
Like, like something that I take interest in, something that'll, like, catch me off guard, something I wouldn't expect you to do.
Yeah.
Like, something that I would expect to do by myself if need be.
Yeah.
But we're like obviously been together 5 months, so we haven't really spent the Christmas together yet. So this will be the first one. Also, like, I'm also at the point now, like, gifts ain't really all that much to me, because my last few Christmases been, like, really spent by myself. So, like, gifts aren't really, like, anything like that of that significant, because I see people go shopping nowadays. Mm-hmm. Especially being in the retail business. I see people go shopping nowadays, and I just think, like, people are just constantly running out of options of what to buy, for somebody, to the point that we're just basically, like, going into the gift card, like, phenomenon.
I think that's, like, kind of, I don't know. I think it's one of those where you have to start getting, I think that's where we might both appreciate this. That's where having very curated gifts, very, like, specific gifts for people, or handmade gifts, are, like, the next step, is sort of like going back to when, like, having handwritten cards or just making something is, I think, something that people don't realize that they want to do. Is like, hey, I handcrafted like a pretty, solid piece of art or something like that. But I think it's like, I think for both of us, it's like, if you're going to give me a gift, it better be something that clearly indicates you pay attention. And like you understand like what I prioritize or what I value or what I find entertaining. Because like, and that's where like, I think that's just sort of like what people are having a problem with, especially when we're in like because America is such a rich country, and like we can have anything we want, and that's where everyone kind of can easily get whatever they want, and people and we have too much time spent on work that it's really hard for us to go anywhere online or in person and find a gift that we feel is going to do the job that we all sort of intuitively know it should. It's like, oh, and then it ends up just becoming like a regular, shop to go get yogurt, but instead it's like, I'll just get these pants or these shirt for my nephew. When it's like, you should probably just like, how about you just write a fucking letter and just send the kid or send the adult or whatever, just like send them the freaking handwritten letter, just like something like that.
And that's why I like, me personally, I love digital technology nowadays, but I also hate it. Mm-hmm. Because it takes away those kind of moments where you could have, like, sit down, write letters.
Yeah.
Like, me and my girlfriend, like, I mean, we kind of, like, phased out of it a little bit, I guess because we see so much of each other. But at first, when we first started dating, it was always, like, she'll write a letter in a little poem book, and then I write her, like, little, like, page front and back. Yeah. Like I said, we've kind of fizzed out of that. It's kind of like, I make this.
That's something you can have. I'll tell you something. That's something you can have in your back pocket. Just like slip her a letter, like 6 months from now.
Oh yeah, I definitely thought about it. And the funny part is, like, I use this analogy a lot. Reason why, like, I kind of hate like the modern day technology at times. It's like you say, like, write that letter, send it to him, to the person. Mm-hmm. I always tell people, like, I miss those days where you can, like, take the family up to Blockbuster and just, like, just
go find a movie.
Yeah, go find a movie. Like, you're over here finding your kids' movie. They're over there finding their adult movie. Grab a little bag of popcorn and some candy and just, like, take the car ride home.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I say, like, me personally, when people say the word Netflix and Hulu, all that shit around me, like fuck them companies. Like, I know they're cool. They come out with good content. Like, you're watching the content right now.
But there's something about, like, because
that
was a nice little middle class thing.
Yeah.
It was like, we're going to go, it's like Friday night, we're going to order pizza of some kind, like DiGiorno's or something like that. And we're going to go to Blockbuster and we're going to go find a movie and take it home. And that's its own like physical adventure.
Yep.
And then you come home to like pizza in the movie and, take it like, and mom's going to like take you up to the Blockbuster in her car. Or like your aunt, I guess. Take it up to Blockbuster, you're going to drop it off and then go to school.
Oh, I thought I enjoyed it better, like the way we grew up, because obviously the way we grew up, it was like a Blockbuster. Like, obviously, if you're driving, it's like 5 minutes, but if you're walking, it's like 20 minutes. So we always walked.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we didn't have a car, so I enjoyed that even more. Like, just the Friday.
That whole walk, like that long walk, like that's what
almost like an hour of bonding.
It is. That's where like it goes back to like this long form that like is happening in podcasts, and we've sort of lost that because of how efficient everything else is. That like me and Melanie sort of make our own. We try to do it as often as we can, but it's where we'll just start walking around the neighborhood. Like we have like a relative route, but it's not like we do a lap and we're done. It's like we keep walking until we run out of things to say, or just run out of the vibe of needing to be walking and outside. And that's where like I hear like just that bonding time of just taking 20 minutes to go to Blockbuster, like that's the same thing as just going for a walk.
It is.
And I think I'm trying not to be insulting with this, but like simple people don't understand what that actually does and means and what it does for your psychology and your relationships. And like, going into those conversations and going into like understanding things more and talking more to like be able to make it clear. Because some people are like, they're very simple in how they live and how they, think and work. And they may not have been informed at how much value there is in thinking long enough and talking long enough that you can clearly articulate like complex feelings.
Right.
For like understanding the value. Because like I'm being impressed by you readily adapting to the discussion that we're having with like love languages and gifts, and like recognizing the value of like this part and this part. Like she values like what I like to wear, and I'm valuing like her team. And it's like, well, that's very intelligent, like relationship conversation, psychology, like relationship conversation that, some people, like, especially like just in like sort of blue collar jobs, that's not something that they would naturally think about or go from. Like, you could break it down to them and they'd be like, okay, I can get that. Or, or they'd be like, why is that important? Because of just, guys and girls think very differently. And so like, yeah, so that's where, there's incredible value for just going for walks and having like long time spent away from tech.
Absolutely. 100% agree.
So yeah. There's a Dunkin' Donuts where the Blockbuster that I grew up with is now. Like, what's weird? It's weird. It's the end of a plaza. The Publix is still there that I grew up with, more or less. But like, it's the end of a plaza, and it was that huge, showroom. But there's just like a Dunkin' Donuts for like the front of it, and a Dunkin' Donuts is not a big building. So like, half of the space that they've rented, that was like the back half of the Blockbuster, is just like blacked out empty space in the thing. So it's like it's like hope you're getting money out of that. Hope the rent's not too high.
Yeah, because the one I grew up is off of Orlando Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
There used to be a bike shop there. It's right across the street from ABC Liquor.
Uh-huh. What's the intersection?
1792 in what was the best place? Right across from the Winter Park Village.
Oh, okay. So 1792 in Gay Road, basically, like Winter Park Village area. Yeah, so Mathnasium's right there.
Yeah, you got like there used to be a bike shop there. There's open some like restaurant. And obviously you have the ABC liquor store like right across the street.
Yeah.
Right like catty corner from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that used to be a Blockbuster back in the day.
Nice.
Yeah, so every time I drive by, I just think about those times, like
nice.
That was there. So
nice.
Yeah, it's just I just miss those days, like those.
You always will. You always will.
I mean, this digital media, you just flop in front of a TV and like Netflix.
Anything you want, yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy, but
I think every like other year, it seems, I go back to my childhood neighborhood because like my mom remarried, and so we moved for my 8th grade year. So I went from Odyssey Middle School over on the Chickasaw like airport side of town to the Winter Park Pines, like right in there where Winter Park High School is. So like I just got just like uprooted and moved. Like had like 8th grade and 9th grade just spent like just making a whole new batch of friends in a way, and recovering from just like being usurped like that, just being like transplanted, and having to move into a new house and everything, and mom remarrying and all that shit that sort of went in with that and such. So like I'll actually go to like my childhood neighborhood, and the craziest thing to me is that everything always looks way smaller than I remember it. Because like, you grow up physically and everything's just so smaller. Like we used to go down the road to this retention pond and just like climb up in these trees and like throw berries at like gators or something. And now I get to like that retention pond and I just look out and I was like, that's like 2 feet out there. Like it's like nothing to like hop the fence and like walk to the edge. When before like we couldn't even like throw it all the way into the water. Like we couldn't get like from because it's like road, trees, sidewalk, chain link fence, like quote unquote beachfront, even though it's like just like the ground, and then like where the actual retention pond is. And we slowly, I think, up until like I moved like in 7th grade, and like all the kids started separating like in 4th, 5th grade. We eventually got to where we could actually have the strength to get it in the water. And now you just stand there as like an adult, and it's like it's such a short distance. Like I could just easy chuck.
Like all that strength that you build over time.
Just growing like adult muscles, and then like I loved it when I was like helping someone move after I'd been doing retail for a while, and I was helping someone move, and I realized like my grip for like just my ability for like my hands to just grip and just hold something was like leagues away from what it used to be. It was even better at the time than my friend who was in the Navy. Like he just helped me come down to Melbourne and help a friend move, and we're just picking up like the touch little ends of this furniture piece, and my hand strength from just opening up cardboard boxes and just moving, water and pallets and stuff, just naturally just got stronger after doing it for like 4 years at the time or something like that. So like little victories. Because I haven't worked out since since like high school. It was like 10 years.
Man, take every little victory you can get, man.
Oh yeah.
Learn from it. Like little victory is better than big losses.
Yeah.
Tell you that much.
Yeah, definitely. You ready to bounce there? Or?
Yeah, she keeps texting me.
No, we're almost at 3 hours anyway. It's like 8:50 now, almost 9. You got here like at
6:10, I think.
6:10. Yeah, no, we can call if you like, man.
Yeah, man, let's do it, man.
Definitely.
Yeah, so that we see.
And I will see you next time.